What's going on, everybody? It's the Space and Rocket Review! Space and Review. That mic went out. It's weird. Alright. How's everybody doing? Let me just ping over in the YouTube chat, make sure. Yeah, there we go. Alright, YouTube chat's up and running. Alright. Copy. Bubble wrap nominal. What's going on, everybody? Hope life's treating you well. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Sorry about not getting in for after hours, like, right away.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
I had an impromptu meeting with NSF. I had to get some stuff figured out, but we're good now. So, I got a little bit of space news. We got a little bit of stuff going on here and there. It's not anything planned on July 20th after this meeting. I don't know. I have no idea. Loving the hat. Thank you. Will you watch the World Cup? Probably not. Yeah, probably not. I barely have time to watch any sport. I watch the sports that I like, dude. Toilet status checked. Toilet is powered. Waste tank purged. Let me find it.
Houston, toilet is powered, waste tank purged.
Can you repeat your last?
Integrity Houston, toilet is powered, waste tank purged.
There it is. There it is. And the bubble wrap is nominal. Have you heard about the F-4 Phantom return to flight in Houston? Yes. Yeah, that's the Collings Foundation. Give me 1 second. I can get you the link of me jiggy. The Collings Foundation is so here, let me just show you their webpage. We'll start here. Collings Foundation is a foundation that has a bunch of airworthy stuff, and they preserve a bunch of old military equipment and bombers, fighters now, a bunch of good stuff. They have so I know Collings because they're out of Stowe. They're out of Stowe, Mass. They have a bunch of super cool stuff like World War II demonstration weekend. It's like, you know, a couple of Shermans. No big deal. All right. They do reenactments, etc., etc. It's pretty good, man. So, one of their big things is that, I mean, it's right there. That's a picture. That's a real picture. They have also the Heritage Museum in Hudson, which is freaking cool. That's a little ways out west, but it's a hell of a museum for what it is. I haven't been there. I know where it is, driven by it. I know what's inside. They got a bunch of good stuff in there. Here, let me just go to D-Day. You know, topical. Cromwell. Yeah, look at that. They have a Cromwell, a Higgins boat, Churchill Crocodile, which is a flamethrower tank, QF 6-pounder, and a Bren gun carrier. Dude, like I said, I've gone through all this. There's some really, really good stuff in there. They got a German 88, SDKFZ, 8.5 ton, troop carrier, Kommandograt 38. That's a fire control computer. There's a V1 in there. Like I said, the Collings Foundation is pretty awesome. So they just got Let me back it up.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Yes, B-17G. Yeah, they're the only outfit that has an airworthy B-24. It's a real airworthy. That's a real one. That's an original. It's the only one that's airworthy. They have an ME-262, B-25, TP-40. There's a bunch of good stuff in here. I don't know if it's gonna put it in the Korean War era. Yes, it is. I would say that the F-4 is more of a Vietnam era plane, but they just got the F-4 airworthy. It's, to my knowledge, the only airworthy F-4 in the United States. There are airworthy F-4s around the world. Some countries still use them in frontline service, which is that's a way to go. Hey JP, what's up? It's Wednesday, my dudes. Viper had a resub in there. Doom had a resub in there. Nova 1 did as well. All right. So, yeah, they let me see if I can get yeah, there it is. The only civilian registered F4. Nobody's in the Rio seat.
Discovery, go at throttle
Damn,
up.
that's cool. Tessa, tier 3, 121 months. Thank you. It's Wings Wednesday, so yeah, that's why you guys talk about it. So I figure we'll start with some Wings news. I knew Collings Foundation had a lot. You know, I'm gonna have to go out there to Hudson at some point. It's not that far. Hudson's about hour 45 away. Got to get on 495, dude. Go north. After 7 years on the ground, the Collings Foundation's F4 Phantom 2 has returned to flight from Ellington Field in Houston. Oh, it's at a... Oh, Ellington. Flown by former USAF pilot Harry D-Day Day. Nice. That's a good call sign. The historic jet is now the only civilian flying F4 Phantom 2 in North America, and likely the last operational example in the United States. Its return marks the culmination of years of work by dedicated volunteers from Collings Foundation and the Vietnam War Flight Museum. When did you shave? It's always startling when you do. That would have been May 30th. So we've gone aerodynamic for like, I don't know, a week and a half, something like that. Bonks, where have you been? No, I haven't been streaming as much. That's the thing, but we'll be fixing that soon. Can't go there until you got a coronet able to do the drive. I did work on the rocker, but the automotive computer I have shut off right now because it's too hot. It's too hot in the shop. So yeah, I don't have a view out there, but it'd be a cool place to do a VFT. I'd have to go and ask. Yeah. Nader, you sent your dad links to the F4 calling story. He's super stoked about it since he flew them. Yeah. Blood for the Blood God. Just had some time to fully watch the Artemis 3 crew reveal, and the commander is a graduate from your college. Amaze. The commander, so that's Randy Bresnik blood. So you're a Citadel guy? That's cool, man. That's cool. All right, outdoorsman, be safe, buddy. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with aerodynamic for the summer. It was starting to. I had a beard like, dude. First of all, like, I've had a beard for an extremely long time, just off and on. Like, I hadn't, up until like a week and a half ago, I hadn't shaved in probably like a decade. I just trim it, right? You just trim and, you know, get the clippers and be done with it. I haven't had a close shave in a long time. I actually kind of dig it, especially if it's warm out, because when I'm like working in the shop, I sweat like crazy, right? And it gets all absorbed here, dude. At that, and like when you come out of the shower, you have to sit there and you have to pat the stupid thing down, or else you're just gonna be dripping. Screw that. Nah. I'm good. We'll go aerodynamic for a little while. It's hard to catch a stream over in Australia. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. But yeah, man, it's bonks. Like, it's not like super warm up here, but it's pushing 30°C every day, and my shop is in the sunlight. During sunset, like my driveway, the sun lines up with the damn driveway, right? And it just starts cooking this metal shed, dude. It gets real hot in there. Yeah, I bet you we could cook food on the roof of my shop right now. And my shop is insulated, so it ends up being an oven. So, dude, if I committed to working more on the car, right? And I did section out that rocker panel today. I made it straight, and it looks really good. I want to, here, I think I have a picture on here. So I sectioned it. So see how it's perfectly straight? Like, all the way down? I did get a chance to do that this morning before errands and stuff. So what I did was I put a laser level for leveling drywall. I put it on a jack stand at the back of the rocker, and then I lined it up with the level that I needed at the front, leveled the thing, and it made a line, and I sectioned it right on the line. I used a laser. And once again, like, it is pretty damn straight. I also went at it with the hammer and dolly, and I got all the I got as much of the waviness out of it as possible. It, like I said, it is straight, very straight. And then, you know, I cleaned up a little bit of the welds in that nightmare area. Still got to do that patch right there, and then the back is a little bit wavy, but you can see the laser level right over there. But yeah, forgot I had the laser level. That's definitely gonna help with lining up stuff. But yeah, I just got a seam seal up. Part of the seams in there, seams or paint it. Hit it all with the primer, seam seal it up, and then get that little patch at the back figured out. Get any extra waviness out of the metal. Yeah, I got to do a little bit more hammer and dolly work towards the back, but other than that, guys, that panel is that rocker is ridiculously strong. It's stronger than the factory. The factory panel is 18 gauge steel. This is 16 gauge, so it's like 16 gauge is like. Or no, 18 gauge is like 1.2 mil. This is like 1.5 mil. It's pretty damn thick. Like me. But, yeah. I want this chassis to be damn reinforced. Now I just got to do that to the other side. That looks awesome. Well done. Thanks, man. Yeah, thanks. I wasn't happy with my welds yesterday. I'm never happy with my welds, dude. But I went back and looked at them. They're all right. They're fine. Grind them down. I can grind them down and make it look good. There's a couple of spots that I missed here and there, but for the most part, we did okay. Like, my big thing is just putting heat into the damn metal. You've constructed a tank, yeah. Is the car perfectly level? Yes. Yeah, yes it is. I got it level because I know that the frame rails, the front of the frame rails, the front of the rear frame rails, and the back of the front frame rails are at the same height because that's where the assembly line jig would have been attached to it. So if you level off those components, right, you know, I have 4 jack stands there, and the floor is level. It's pretty damn level, dude. It's close. It might be just a smidge off, but it, like, if I pour water on the concrete, it won't go anywhere. It just stays there. So it's Either the low point's in the center of the garage, which would be really bad, or it's pretty level. The floor is level enough. It's pretty good.
Discovery, go at throttle
So
up.
what I did then is at the front of the car, the core support goes like this. So it has, like if the front of the car is facing this way, so the headlights would be right here. The core support on the car kind of looks like this. And you see there's a beveled edge right here. What I did was I jacked the car up, right? When we leveled the car, I jacked the car upright, and I got it to the point where I could open and close the doors without them hitting the striker. And I moved the jack stands into position, and I used the curve to slide them into the right spot, and then I let the car down, and the curve of the bevel is sitting on the jack stand. That's how I figured out how to level the front of the car, because I originally jacked the car up on the 4 jack stands on the frame rails in the center of the car, and the front sagged like crazy because there's no structure. Can we talk about Jared's latest statement? Flavia, you're a woman, but I can't understand this woman controversy. They're the best crew for the job. I don't know. Yeah, I think that this is a really, really good. This is a really good crew for this mission. Flavia, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I don't care if it's all men. I don't care if it's all women. I really don't. That really doesn't mean anything to me. I just want individuals there that can do the job, and there are men and women that can do the job. Personally, I think they're saving. If you really want my honest opinion, I'm calling it now, June 10th, 2026, well before the Artemis 4 mission. I do believe that the Artemis 4 mission will have 2 women on it. 2 women and 2 men. I think that this mission, because this mission probably had a crew that was made up of men and women, or one women, 3 men, or 2 and 2, or whatever, 3 and 1. I don't really care. Like the talent behind the resume is what speaks, and any astronaut has a good enough resume, to be honest with you. I think that because they changed. Damn diesel truck. I think that because NASA changed Artemis 3 to a low Earth orbit mission, whatever crew that they had assigned that they were really looking for, right? They moved to Artemis 4. And then this crew, Artemis 3, ended up being an added mission, kind of hastily added mission. And if all of the women that are flying in your astronaut corps, which is about 40%, of NASA's astronauts are women, which is fine. Like I said, I don't really care. The engineering and the space flight itself is like what I care about. Like, who's on it? All right, that's cool. Like, sure. I think that because they moved whatever crew was on this to Artemis 4, right? My guess would be that this is a crew that they had quote unquote on shorthand to get this mission done. Like, who has low Earth orbit experience that doesn't have a crew assignment coming up, right? That we can train relatively quickly. Like, you really want the people with the most experience there. Honestly, if Peggy Whitson was still a NASA astronaut and not an Axiom astronaut, I would say she would command it, because she was the American with the most time in space when she retired, if I'm remembering correctly. Or Sunny, but she retired too, right? You need an experienced crew for this mission. This is a hard mission. And that's not to say that people aren't up to snuff here, but proving out the docking mission is going to, doing test RPOD is going to need people with a lot of experience. And you needed a crew with a lot of experience on very shorthand. Because remember, they changed this mission around when the ignition thing came out, which was a couple of months ago. So that means this is, for a NASA mission on the NASA rocket that's supposed to fly in 12 months, a year is a very short amount of time. So it's who did you have that's available with tons of low Earth orbit experience on shorthand. That's something to take into account. I think that's the reason why this crew was chosen. I think it's a great crew, to be honest with you. But that also tells me that Andre Douglas would not have been on Artemis 4. Which is, yeah, interesting. I read that Lucas' heart rate was so steady during that issue, doctors didn't know he was in trouble. Cool cat. Hey, you just gotta deal with it, man. What are you gonna do? Sit there and panic? What's that gonna do? Panic? You absolutely are gonna die. Like, just get her done. I 100% agree, but people on the internet don't get it, no matter how you explain it. I don't know, Flavia. I would ask the people that are upset about Artemis 3 not having a woman on there, would they be the same way if the crew was all women? Would they say the same thing? I don't know. Probably not. If the crew was all women, I would probably make no bigger deal out of it than what I do when I glaze any astronauts on here. Because, once again, that's like, the talent is what speaks here. You know, and once again, there are plenty of talented NASA astronauts, and I honestly and truly, with all my heart, believe that they're saving the most talented female astronauts that they have with the biggest resumes. They're saving them for Artemis 4. They're saving them for the landings, which makes sense to me. Like that, you know, if I was a woman, that's what I'd want. That's a good idea. Like, yeah, we should do that. If that mattered to me, I mean, it really doesn't. Like. See you on BF Labs later this week. Makes sense to you too. Hey, what's up, Aqualix? What do you got? Chief, what's going on? Human long-duration spaceflight requires data from both men and women. Oh, yeah, no doubt, Chief. Yeah, if we're going to look at it from a purely scientific perspective, we ain't sending all men to Mars. That's not how you colonize things. Simultaneously, unless a Jurassic Park scenario happens, we ain't sending all women either. You know what I'm talking? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Right? So, yeah. If anything, like, you know, if we're going to speak purely, like, from a scientific point of view, it probably would have been a good idea to send a woman on an Apollo mission. And if you really want my honest to God opinion, I think they would. They probably would have done it in the 70s. Like Sally Ride, what's her name? She does the EVAs. Kathy Williams, I think is her name. Sally Ride, Kathy, you know, like Judy Resnick, unfortunately. Like, they were all teed up for that was going to happen. Like, how many Apollo astronauts didn't actually go to the damn moon? Kathy Sullivan, that's it. I said Williams, excuse me. Yeah. They were, guys, honestly, if the Apollo program kept going, they would have gone. It wouldn't have been the shuttle mission. And Guillaume Bluford too. Like, it would have been shuttle. They would have gone straight to the moon. Like, I know that Sally Ride and Kathy Sullivan they were in the astronaut class from 1978 with Reese Eden and a couple of other people, a couple of other women. But I think Judy Resnick was in that class too. But yeah, that was going to happen. It was going to happen one way or the other. What is the Jurassic Park scenario? In Jurassic Park, in the original Jurassic Park book by Michael Crichton, they only populate the park with females. Because female dinosaurs are, you know, at least they thought they'd be less aggressive, right? I mean, it really depends on the species. It really depends on the species. And, you know, the people that come and visit the park, they I forget, I'm blanking on the dude's name. They come and visit the park and they say, you know, don't tempt evolution. You got sidetracked from your last. I'll get it in a second, dude. I get it. I have it up. They're like, oh, they're all females. They're not going to procreate. And then they did, because life finds a way. All right. Aqualex, the bigger issue generally is who's drawing the junk hand of cards, making it harder to build that required resume anyway. Everyone focus on the end result as if that's the problem to fix, where the thing that needs tweaking is the underlying system with past issues, back and big ticket numbers is just the syndrome. Yeah, I really don't think so. I mean, at this point in time, the new astronaut classes are pretty damn diverse, if you ask me. Life finds a way. Clever girl, right? That is one area we've not done much research yet in space. Yeah, we're gonna need to figure it out, dude. Can we procreate in microgravity? I don't see
Discovery,
why not.
Go at throttle up.
But I'll admit I need to be more educated on this matter. You know what I mean? All systems, 104-month resub. Thank you for giving me an out. Regarding the bounds of scientific discovery, then why not send both men and women to find out what happens? That's what I'm saying. That's part of the reason. Like, Bunks. All right, okay. If we're gonna get into the weeds about this, like, you know, people make it like, oh, men should be doing the job, or no, all women should be doing the job. Well, that's only fair. Like, I don't subscribe to any of that. Like, I think from a pure scientific standpoint, guys, like, we should be sending both. We need more diverse crews, not to prove some point, but do you want, if we're going to have a city on the moon, figuring out no one's going to go back to Earth just to have a kid and then go back to the moon if they live on the moon. That makes no sense. Right? So to understand like what deep space radiation does to females' bodies, like, and males' bodies too, like, it doesn't really, like, I want both of those data sets there. Like, if I'm a scientist, and I mean, that's only smart, right? I don't think that NASA does that for out of some kind of like equality of outcome. They do it because they, you know, people like women can fly a spacecraft. Like, why they could fly a spacecraft just fine. Like, I don't really like. Look at Eileen Collins. She flew the shuttle multiple times. Like, flew the damn thing. Like, not like sitting in the passenger seat. Like, she commanded an entire mission. Like, I don't know what people are on about. It's Pam Melroy too. She was the deputy NASA administrator during the last administration. I've met her. I shook her hand. She's pretty cool. She flew the space shuttle. Like, I don't, like, once again, fellas, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care. I really don't. I don't care who's on it. It doesn't bother me. Like, I can see how people would be annoyed by it. Or people, like, how you could say it's some kind of systematic problem. And I'm not saying that it is or isn't there. I don't think this is really the right forum to talk about that. But yeah, once again, I don't really care. I think the Artemis 3 crew needed a crew to fill in. And just by chance, there wasn't any astronaut women that were available on the ticket. That's all. I really don't think, you know, like, someone's trying to prove a point or anything. I think this is just how it played out, dude. Cosmolox, what is on your mind? Sea last. Ooh, 2 sea lasts. About the NASA selection. All astronauts are selected through a highly competitive process, then they are fully trained for spaceflight and certain different mission types. Now the question is, who becomes an astronaut for Artemis? But which already qualified astronauts are the best fit for this mission? Each mission has specific key points, duration, spacecraft type, planned activities. NASA builds a skill map and selects the astronauts based on technical expertise, spaceflight expertise, spacewalk experience, mission-specific operations. Astronaut assignment is not about picking the best individuals, but forging a team that works well together. Psychological compatibility, communication under stress, conflict management, ability to operate in space together for long periods. Yeah, they put in their data criteria, and this is what it popped up with. It's not rocket science, dudes. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. Did people have the same reaction to NASA and SpaceX with the MO2? No. Like, I don't want to speak for people because that's not wise, but like I can't help but think like if this was an all-women crew or something, one, different people would be making a racket, right? And two, you know, I think people would be pissed off because like the all-women mission is going to low Earth orbit. Like people are always going to be mad about something. Like you're always going to be mad about something, and hey, you can, you know, to an extent, you can pick and choose what pisses you off. Like, if you're gonna go and doom scroll on the internet, you don't have to do that. So you're picking to let the news cycle piss you off, right? Because the algorithm's going to feed you something that you're going to read, and if you see a crappy headline, you're going to read it and be like, what the hell is this? What is this? The algorithm stokes perpetual outrage. Just something to understand. You know, obviously, like, traumatic events notwithstanding, which I can speak to, like, that's out of my control, and that did screw with me for a little while, and it's still screwing with me to an extent. But I guess, like, even with the perspective of, like, what happened with Bree and I, like, dude, you can get mad about something like that, or you could take that energy and you could put it into being the change you want to see. Because whining about it on the internet ain't going to change anybody's mind. Or picking fights on the internet either. I don't know. Like, it just, I can say with the utmost, like, honesty that it doesn't really bother me. I don't really get, like, all right. I'm much more interested in I'm much more interested in like spacecraft design and mission architecture and stuff. That's where EJ's spacetism is. You know what I mean? Like that's really where that is. Who's flying the spacecraft? As long as you're trained and qualified on the mission, I don't care. Doesn't bother me. And I swear to you, I'm not saying that just to avoid some difficult conversation. You know what I mean? Are there things we can do better? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. We can always do better. So let's be better. You know what I mean? That's always been my thing. Like, be better. Be the change you want to see. Right? That's it. Like, want to go out? You want to feed homeless people? Go do it, man. Go do it. You know, like, I firmly believe, like, if you're going to get up somebody's tail for, like, I don't know, like, you know, blowing a stop sign or something, right? Like, you better be a damn good driver if you do that. You know, like, if someone's going to drive on the road like an idiot and you call them out for being an idiot, well, all right. You don't want people driving like idiots. Don't drive like an idiot. Obey all the rules of the road then. You know what I mean? Name 3 books. Hey, Etal. 46-month resub. What's up, dude? Being the change I want to see right now. Everyone else sub to this guy. Oh, you don't need to do that, man. Thank you. I don't buy into the systematic problem idea. Yeah, of course, Vaquero. Sure. Yeah, I mean, once again, whether you think it's a systematic problem and needs to be changed, or if you don't, then don't worry about it, right? And if you do, well, then work on it. Work on it. I firmly believe in being part of solutions. Just remember, guys, anyone can call out a problem. Anyone can say this is wrong. I think about this every time I give you guys an explanation on here or on Flame Trench about why I say what I say. Anyone can point out a problem. That's easy. That's the easy part. I know what's wrong with it. It ain't got no gas in it. Right? Okay. You can point out a problem. Congratulations. That's cheap. That's easy. That's the easy thing to do. Fixing a problem is difficult. And difficult things are usually worth doing. But once again, just...
Oh, this is space. I'm in space.
SARS Navy. Hey, thanks for gifting us up, man. Don't listen to Adtel. Don't listen to him. He's the other streamer, man. Yeah, Redbeard, I'll check it in a second. The astronauts do not have anything to train with as far as docking training hardware, do they? Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna lean heavy into astronaut experience because, yeah, this mission is kind of going to be, this mission training is going to be on a little bit of an accelerated timeline. Quite frankly, it's insulting to those that work their butt off to be on the mission. So don't let it bother you then, Hellfish. Don't let it bother you then. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you think this is a problem, we'll work on it. Be the change that you want to see. If you don't think it's a problem, don't worry about it. It's not in your control. It's in your control to not get annoyed by this. Just remember that. I was thinking, what does flying a spacecraft actually look like these days? Geosync, a lot of spacecraft are automated in most of their procedures. Even the space shuttle, to an extent, was mostly automated. Like, you're not flying that thing manually into ascent. No way. That's not happening. I don't think anyone ever did that. I wouldn't want to do that. You would crash. Like, you would crash. Can you imagine manually flying the thing with SRBs behind you? That would... nope. Yeah, hard pass. With that all being said, there were fully manual phases with the shuttle. The shuttle was kind of halfway between. It's like the bridge between a fully manual flying spacecraft like Gemini and to an extent Apollo. Apollo was pretty automated, right? And like what we have now, like something like Dragon, you really have minimal control, but you can fly them manually if you want. Dragon's manual flying was demonstrated during DM2, where Bob Benkin and Doug Hurley did a manual demonstration where they manually flew Dragon and station keeped with the ISS. So like the ISS is right here. I have a Dragon here. They got Dragon up here, and then they kind of went up, down. They went left, right, and then they went forward and back, right? And then they moved forward and docked. How does that work? Well, you have a THC and an RHC. I said THC and some people went, huh? What? No, translational hand controller and a rotational hand controller. That's usually what you have. So like you have a joystick, right? And then you have a secondary joystick that it can go like up, down, like you can push it forward, you can push it back, you can push it left, you can push it right. There's no rotation on it, and you could push it forward or pull it back. And then you have the RHC is basically just a joystick. That's what Orion has. Starliner has that too. Dragon has like buttons. You can't really ever see it when they show onboards, but on the commander's and pilot's right armrests, there are controls. I don't know what those controls are. There's some buttons down there. I would assume those buttons are probably your RHC and THC if I had to guess. And then the other thing is I think that the translational hand controller is on the touch screen, but I'm not sure. Victor did some manual control of Orion. Yes, he did the Rendezvous Proximity Operations Demonstration, RPOD. Now, don't get an RPOD from Artemis 2 confused with an RPOD on Artemis 3. RPOD, or RPOD, on Artemis 3 is the Rendezvous Proximity Operations and Dock. RPOD on Artemis 2, even though they have the exact same acronym because that's what NASA does, is Rendezvous Proximity Operations Demonstration. Differences. What's the difference? Victor didn't dock to the ICPS. He just got near it. All right. Redbeard, what's on your mind? Told me to see your last over here. You can play KSB. It's like the same thing, right? Similar to the STS's DAP? Yeah, kind of. The shuttle had more, like, it kind of had more of a garden variety, like yoke, that was more similar to a fighter plane. But then again, the RHC and Orion, I do believe, is from a fighter plane. I think it's from a, oh, what the hell is it from? We figured it out during the Artemis 2 stream. I think it's from an F-16, I think. But I'm not 100% sure. It's definitely, the rotational hand controller on Orion is definitely from a fighter plane. It is absolutely from one. I just don't know which one. The only mission I would care if it wasn't mixed is 4 because I need Johnny Kim commanding and Ann McClain piloting that mission. Yeah. Since A2 and A3 have at least one crew member has never flown to space, do you think that pattern would repeat for A4? Yes. The fighter planes have an RHC. What would it be used for? Oh, I don't know. Flying the airplane? A rotational hand controller from a HOTUS? No. Flying the airplane's probably needed for that. How do they plan to dock with SpaceX and Blue Origin? A new universal docking port? Not new. Chief, after the end of the shuttle program, NASA and partners came up with a new docking standard called the International Docking System Standard. It's called IDSS. And from the International Docking System Standards, which is basically a standardized docking port, it's the 3-pedal docking port that you see on the front of Starliner, Dragon, and Orion soon. It's derived from APAS, a Russian design, but with some Western probe and drogue stuff kind of hot wired into it. But from the IDSS plans, NASA put NASA built the NDS, the NASA docking system, which is their version of the IDSS. Dragon and Starliner have that. They have an NDS, which is the NASA built version of the International Docking System Standards. Yes, it's a lot of acronyms. It's a pain in the butt. I'm trying to explain it as best as I can. Whew. Yeah, if you want to know what the IDSS is, it is a androgynous attachment system. So you can have a passive NDS or you can have an active NDS, and they latch to each other. That's what it looks like. Blue actually showed us their some footage of their NDS docking, which is in the presentation. The lack of full automation in the shuttle is one of the reasons why I think the flight rate to the side, Buran Energia, was a better vehicle. The Harrier had a THC and RHC. Yes, it did, because VTOL. Yeah, here's there's some footage of an NDS working. So, Chief, with the NDS, you have the active, right? This is actually not testing the end-to-end function on an NDS. This is just your soft capture mechanism. So right down here, see this one? This has the 3 docking pedals, but the pedals are kind of hollowed out. That is a passive NDS. So a passive NDS is most likely what you're going to see on the landers, because Orion docks to the landers, not the landers dock to Orion, if that makes any sense, to speak in plain English. To an extent, Sawyer, but that's about to change with the IPO. We could talk about that later. Now, this is the passive NDS. So you can see, Chief, that there is an inner ring right here. The inner ring is this piece right here. And on the active NDS, the ring it's telescoping. So it can extend. It can extend and retract. The reason why it can extend is because it's on a set of 6 linear actuators that can also double as shock absorbers. It's your soft capture mechanism. So right there, that's your soft capture. So this is your initial pilot to, I don't mean pilot like flying the spacecraft. This is your pilot to getting the 2 ships docked together. It's a soft capture mechanism. What it does is it absorbs any of the any of the relative motion coming in NDS. I just explained that. NASA docking system. Yeah, Drew, I can't do that. So these actuators act as a shock absorber that dampen out the differential velocity between targets, between the ship and the lander, or the ship and the space station. I just got on. Sorry about that. It's okay. I have the link, Jim. Sorry, there's a lot there. When are aeronautical terms not mostly accurate? Yeah, you got it, man. It's a pain in the butt. There's a gateway module in the background. It's a mock-up, blocks, but yeah. I have a question. Where's Thomas? I remember that guy a couple days ago, the Dutch guy. He got really into politics and stopped watching the stream. I have not seen or heard from Thomas in years. I miss him, dude. Yeah, he chose to let doom scrolling piss him off, I guess. There's nothing wrong with getting into politics if that's what you want to do with your life. Just, remember, just, topical, just, you could pick what what pisses you off. You can pick and choose. Did Artemis 2 have an active NDS? No, it did not. If I were building a starship, I'd go active. No reason not to. It makes it more flexible. That's probably a good point. Hey, Stardust, what's up, man? Hope you're well. Just passing through to know if you're a Stargate fan, and if so, there's a tweet storm by the fandom on X right now to help relaunch the franchise. Save Stargate. Yeah, yep. Save Ferris. Take care. All right. Au revoir. The revolving door of Twitch viewers coming in during an explanation. Happens all the time, dude. You know. How modernized is this system? It's pretty damn good. Oh my god, the entire chat's red. Okay.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Yeah, I miss him. He used to post links and I learned a lot from him. I used to ask him about articles and stuff. He just blocked you on Discord. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't know. Here's the thing, if the IDSS is open and freely available for anyone to build. Yes. IDSS is public domain. Chinese spacecraft have the IDSS on it. Yeah, the Chinese have a version of it. So, theoretically, if the poop hits the fan somehow and a Chinese spacecraft needs to go to the ISS or something, not that they're in the same inclination, but just say in this really crazy hypothetical, they could dock. Sure. As long as you have an active capture mechanism, you could do it. And since it's Soyuz derived, it's most likely using similar ECLS. So like the Chinese could send a spaceship to the ISS if they, if we wanted to do that. Off topic, did you end up getting the tank refilled? And if so, how much was it? It was about $120 from Airgas, and I did get it refilled. It's in the shop now. Isn't Dragon active and passive? Yes. So here's the thing. So what Oculus meant by this, dudes, is that an active system, guys, the soft capture mechanism can retract. It can retract, and you can make an active one into a passive one if you need to. You just retract the mechanism, and an active can dock to an active. An active can dock to a passive. Passive can't dock to an active. Passive definitely can't dock to passive unless you berth it with an arm or something. But yeah, hey drummer, 117-month resub. Thank you. Thomas goes by Luna for Luna now. Oh, okay. Isn't Dragon? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. I hope Thomas is doing well, or Luna is doing well. Issue with politics, smart enough people are not to avoid it. Yeah, I mean, guys, like, I'll be honest with you. I have political views about things. I don't think you guys want nor need to hear them. I'll talk to you, but spaceflight policy is the one exception to that rule. I will share everything about spaceflight policy and what I think about it with you guys, but nothing else. Guys, I'm your entertainment. I don't need to do that. I don't feel compelled to disclose my political opinions for some type of validation on the internet. That's not why I do this job. It makes sense for everybody to be compatible. Standardization is something that's going to need to happen in the spaceflight industry, Aqualex, eventually. Yeah. Yes, Hibbit, precisely. Yeah, that has something to do with it. But yeah, I just don't, I don't feel like my no politics rule has been in place for, shoot, 15 years. I just don't really feel, but before, guys, like, I don't know, you go back like maybe 10 years ago, I didn't want to talk about it because I just, I knew that if I put my opinions out there about this, somebody would give me crap about it, etc., etc. And that's the reason why I did it back in the day. I just didn't want to deal with the baggage. Nowadays, nowadays, I still have the rule because I just don't really feel the need to tell you what I think about certain things. I'm not compelled to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, all right, whatever. Like, if that makes any sense. Was the vast big docking port able to dock passive to passive? That's a good question, Seacracken. Yeah, I do believe the vast big docking port is based off of the IDSS. I'm actually pretty damn sure, just by looking at it. The active one has hooks in it, I presume, hence why passive can't dock, or am I completely wrong? The pedals actually lock in. Kerbal Guy, for not talking politics, you the man. Oh, thanks, dude. Yeah, no, it's just doing my thing. So the pedals can lock, guys. See the actuator? So how this thing works, right? Once the soft capture gets achieved, those pedals can actually move. They move out and they lock the soft capture mechanism in. And then these 6 drive actuators retract the soft capture mechanism. And then it's not on this. This is just demonstrating a soft capture. This is a soft capture test system. This is not, it doesn't have the actual docking port on it. This is what, the docking port is ring shaped. And this is what's in the center. It's like donut shaped. The soft capture mechanism's in the center and the hatches, right? This bracket right here, this piece is actually what holds the hatch. It doesn't have the docking port attached to it. You could see where the mount holes are for the actual hard capture mechanism. When these two things retract, when the pedals and the soft capture mechanism retract, there are pilot holes. You could actually see one of them right there. See the pilot hole? So there's a pilot hole over here, and then if this one had its part of its hard capture system, it doesn't. It's just the soft capture. There would be another one 180 degrees out, and when the soft capture mechanism pulls it in, the 2 holes on either side of the docking port, they will fit into a hole over here and a hole down here respectively. They go like this, right? And what those pilot dowels do is line up the drive hooks, the engagement mechanism, which is, see, this picture has, this one has the actual thing. That one has the drive hooks. It's right there. See the drive hook mechanisms? They actually attach to the outside of the ring. There we go. So what happens with this mechanism here, there are actually 12 drive hooks, or 12 hook assemblies. Each drive hook assembly has 2 of these. And the passive one has 2 of those as well. The passive ones don't have the actuator though. They just have the latch. And what these things do, if you look, they're kind of like shaped like this almost. What they do is they lock into each other like that and they pull it together and they make a seal. The drive mechanism will move it into position and they can latch to each other. That's the other reason why passive can't dock to passive, because you don't have drive hook actuators. I don't know. Yeah, you wouldn't have drive hook actuators on one side. And then, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's an O-ring seal, double O-ring seal right there. But yeah, there you go. The soft capture mechanism, see this outer ring right here? That's not in Blue's picture. You could see where it would mount to, but it's not there. It's one of these. The passive one has the ring, but this soft capture would be inside of this ring. You could see the mount points for it right here.
Discovery,
Right
go
there.
and throttle up.
It's mounts for wiring, and there's all kinds of tapped holes in this aluminum casting here. Can you repeat that? I was distracted. Oh, God. Weather Guy, 74-month resub. But yeah, IDSS it's pretty good. It's a pretty good system. Yeah, it's all public info if you want to read about it. That's why I know so much about the damn thing. Oh, it didn't do it. Come on. You said page 39. Yep, there's your drive hook mechanism. And there's the line drawing for the drive hook. Is there any piece of space hardware that EJ doesn't have extensive knowledge of? Sheesh. Bottomless pit, dude. Yep, there's specifically the machining requirements. This is a machine drawing here for the drive hook and how the flanges need to lock together. See, there's the passive hooks. That document is everything you need to build one. Kind of want to build one, dude. So, if we look at this one right here, you have your 3 pedals, right? And then you have your pilot dowel up here. Oh, I said the pilot dowels were 180. They're 120. Excuse me, I said that wrong. So up here you have a hole and you have a dowel. And then over here you have a hole, right? And then over here you have a dowel. And then on the others, it's the exact same thing on the opposite side so they can dock to each other. So this port, if you mirrored it, they'd be able to latch, right? Manufacture a 1/10 scale model. Those drive hooks would be very small, Hokey. They would be like that big. Just maybe half the size or something. Can you review the Blue Moon demonstrator thing at some point? I missed that news. I did a full retrospective of the Artemis 3 mission announcement, etc., etc. Yeah, Aqualex, they definitely scaled an IDSS to 2 meters. That's what happened. I was gonna do a segment where we talk a little bit more about it, but we went into IDSS talk, which I know a lot about. So, would it be wrong if I were to make a full-size one in the garage? I'm not sure really what you'd do with it. It'd be pretty cool though. But yeah, you can. All the machine drawings are here. It wouldn't be cheap. I mean, you'd have to source the right materials, etc., etc. And it looks like the IDSS is using aluminum castings, which you see this whole casting, the ring piece. That's a 1-piece casting. You know, if you got like I mean, I don't know, Chad. You'd need well into the 5 figures for something like that. This is a very complicated, well, it's not the most complicated casting around, but it's definitely up there. If you wanted to buy you're not making this part in-house. You're not making this in the garage.
Discovery, go and throttle
I
up.
got an angle grinder. Does that work? Oh, yeah. Yeah, just go with what you feel. You'll be fine. Okay. Oh. Wherever you go, I can get to it. Hey, Swift Spiffy, what's up, dude? If both sides don't have drive hooks, it isn't very androgynous, but only one side is active. If both sides are active, it's fine. Hang on. I want to fact check myself. I don't think you saw it, but SpaceX's version of the IDSS is highly modified and extremely light. Yeah. Is SpaceX riveted? Interesting. I'll have to look at that in a second. Swifty, 60. That was a 60-monther from Swifty. You got the worm, son. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure the drive hooks are on the active vessel. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, though. I mean, I'd have to go look.
I'm 30 to 40 years old. I do not need this. Well, which is it? Is you 30 or is you 40?
Hi. Thank you. I mean, Yogbin, an active can dock to active. An active can dock to passive. But passive can't dock passive. That's, yeah. You know, you say it's not very androgynous. That's all right. I mean, I disagree, I guess. Be the right way to say that? Well, what's wrong with us? Is you 30 or is you 40? Yeah. Is you? But anyway, yeah, a little bit on docking ports here. The Chinese, I believe it's Shenzhou, use IDSS. SpaceX does, Starliner does, Orion does. Soyuz does not. Soyuz uses the SSVP. It's still probe and drogues, which is very old school, but it's Soyuz, so. We shall find his age, cut him in half, count his rings. Yeah. Yeah, the trees. Good episode. Hey, docky thingy. Yep. So, that's what I wanted to tell you guys. There is one more thing. If, you know, you're a mechanical nerd. So there's 12 drive hooks. So what they do is they drive 6 of them. So they alternate. So a docking sequence would happen with 6 drive hooks driving and then 12 drive hooks driving to complete the seal. You don't want to attach all of them at once. They also make sure they're opposite. So it's this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So they drive 6 in a quote unquote star pattern, right? And then they do the other 6 next to them. They drive in sequence to ensure equal torque on your mating docking or your docking flange. Yeah. Anybody that knows a little bit about mechanics knows that, yeah, that's probably what you'd want to do. You don't want to pinch that seal. That would be very bad. Yeah, Aqualex, I saw that. That's why I was trying to look to see, like, oh, passive doesn't work. I'm not 100% sure. I know, I'm pretty sure with the IDAs on the ISS that they are, just take a look. Yeah, that they don't move. I don't think it has a drive mechanism. I think the spacecraft drives to the ISS. You know what I mean? Like when you torque lug nuts to spec. Exactly the same thing, actually. Yes, Bonks. Get that star pattern. Torque in sequence, dude. Drive hooks in sequence. Why would it be any different? Dude, space flight's full of that all over the place, man. Oh yeah, everywhere. Get this, some rockets. I was gonna say some of them ignite engines in sequence to ensure equal load on the aft engine section on a stage. Like Falcon 9, you have 8 engines around the outside, 2, 2, 2, and 2, and then, 1 in the center. Falcon Heavy actually did that. They actually lit the center cores in the initial flights, lit the center cores in sequence, and then lit the outer cores in sequence, and then lit the center core. They don't do that anymore. All 3 of them are on the same ignition sequence. Super Heavy used to go star pattern with their rocket engine ignitions. Now, keep in mind, we're talking like maybe a millisecond delay between ignitions. You would actually turn on, if you have a cluster of engines in like your first stage, you'd turn them on in a sequence that it ensures, if you have one on one side and one on the opposite side, you'd stagger 1 and then 2 right after that to ensure that you don't actually like pinch the aft bulkhead and the engine section of the vehicle. Yeah, dude, stuff like, torque sequences all over the aerospace program. They're everywhere. First thing you learn in mechanics class, that's right. Lug nuts, intake manifolds, IKEA furniture. Yeah, you don't need to do that with the IKEA. But yeah. So in mechanical terms, use a Raptor 3 anytime I need a bolt to be untight. I don't think you need that much energy. An oxyacetylene torch would probably do you right. If I recall correctly, but I could be wrong, the IDAs on the ISS are passive and the vehicles are active, but they can also switch modes on the vehicles. So for example, Dragon can dock onto Starliner and vice versa. Active can go to active. Active can go to passive. Passive cannot go to passive. That's how it works. I've read the system standards manual many times. This thing. That's how this thing, I'll link it in chat. This is how I know so much about this particular thing. Starship doesn't concern itself with that. Yeah, exactly. With Raptor 3, this is another one of the things that I don't think people really consider with Raptor 3. I mean, Raptor 3 is ridiculous, and I kind of wish that SpaceX would talk about this, but this is a little bit into the weeds for finance bros and normies, if you catch my drift. Raptor does not need to be sequenced. Raptor 3s you don't need to fire an ignition sequence. You just turn all the engines on all at once, Kerbal style, and just hit the space bar and go. That is actually an insane capability in itself. Not having to sequence your ignition and just turn them all on at the same time. That means whatever their ignition system on each Raptor is so high fidelity that they're not worried about differential shock loading from engine ignition in Super Heavy's engine section, which is absolutely ridiculous when you think about it. Why is that? I have no freaking idea. It's Raptor 3 has some, quite frankly, insane fluid management systems. They're all integrated into the casing, right? Which is why it looks so here's the thing, dudes. All that plumbing is still there. Like, if you look at a Raptor 2 to Raptor 3, a lot of that plumbing is still there. A lot of those components are still there. They're just integrated into the casing, right? So you don't see them. It looks a lot simpler. But and to an extent, Raptor's fluid systems are simplified to an extent. They are. But yeah, a lot of that stuff is still there. It's just in the casings for like the turbo pumps and stuff. It's all integrated, which is, once again, ridiculous manufacturing pornography in itself. Like, let alone it being a damn rocket engine. It's pretty damn cool. Yeah, exactly, Bonks. Think about it like this. Like, if we're gonna talk cars, a car equivalent would be a transaxle. A transaxle is a transmission and a diff in one thing, like integrated as one unit. Raptor's like that. Instead of having like an external piece of plumbing that's going out and into the engine, it's all just integrated into one casting. Smart. It's really smart, actually. Once again, it's ridiculous. And the fluid management systems in that thing are frankly absurd. because you don't need to do sequenced ignition with super heavy. Like water jackets built into the block. Correct. Yeah, they just printed the whole thing so you can print pipes into the body just like cooling channels. It's ridiculous, Aqua. It's like, it's absolutely insane. Like, Raptor, like, borderline should not exist. Like, that's like, you know, normies would be like, it's alien technology. I mean, it's not, but it's not. It's still chemical propulsion. It's not just, it ain't alien technology, right? But it's pretty damn good, dude. They really put a lot of thought into that thing's design, but your propulsion is what costs the most. The propulsion is always the longest lead and the most complicated item in a launch vehicle by a long shot. I think the only thing that would probably be more complicated is a lander, how topical, and a human-rated spacecraft. Those are the only components that are more complicated. I thought the active and passive adapters are each are copies of each other. The passive just doesn't install the actuators. Yeah, pretty much true. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Any progress on getting the mini split installed? No. I have worked on ways to mitigate the temperature in here. The big one is not playing games. It's kind of the other reason why I haven't. I don't really want to fry that nice computer over there. And you can hear the buzzing, and I apologize for the background. I have fans moving air around in here. They shut them down in sequence on Falcon as well. Yep, you don't want to shock load the engine section and thereby shock load the fuel tank. That's probably bad for it. Shutting off all the engines in sequence and having that shock deceleration is like hitting the bottom of the rocket with a hammer. Simultaneously with engine ignition too. That's why they shut down in sequence. Can't hear the buzzing over your fans. Oh, all right. Then get it installed, guy. I might just do it myself. Yep. Does Starship have full or partial backup power systems? Having a parallel power system. We did get an update, Dave, about that last time. Last time they shared new information about Starship. It has a fault detection isolation system that's capable of 9 megawatts power at peak power load. I'm not sure about a backup system, but Dave, if I had to guess in my limited electrical engineering knowledge here, the fault detection isolation system is probably your backup. That, once again, that's just a guess. I don't really know enough about electrical. I can wire a car, not a rocket. But Starship can, Starship's power systems can 9 megawatts, dude, that's ridiculous in itself for any spacecraft. That's actually insane. Nothing, like, I think that's more than the ISS. Not by much, but someone's going to have to fact check me on that one. How small could a Raptor be made, like for RCS? I don't know, Nichols. I'm not sure. The right way to say it is that Raptor is the exact size it needs to be because that's what SpaceX wanted. In terms of miniaturizing it, I probably wouldn't want to try to miniaturize a full flow stage combustion cycle engine. That probably is, that probably wouldn't, it would probably blow up. Yeah, it'd probably explode. Heck, if you took any engine and half the size, it would probably blow up. Like, you just made an exact 50% scale replica, it would explode. Like, rocket engines don't, a lot of stuff, like, I'm trying to explain it kind of not, like, using super awesome, crazy math terms. A lot of things with rockets don't scale linearly, all right? So, just because it's half the size doesn't mean it's going to make, like, half the thrust, or have half of the chamber pressure, or half of the mass flow rate. It doesn't scale linear. And if those numbers don't scale linear, you're going to go to start it and it'll just blow the nozzle off or not work at all. I was thinking for landing engines on the moon. I would not. So, Nichols, to be 100% honest, again, being very honest today, I would not use a turbine-based engine for lunar landings, at least in the application of precise landing. You'd want something that relies on heavy thrust modulation. So a hypergolic system or something, or not even hypergolic, a hot gas thruster, something like that would be way better for this application. The reason why is when you go to
Discovery,
land,
throttle up.
think about how like a Raptor engine works. Raptor is 100% throttle, and then it can go down to like 40%, right? And then it can go back up. It can deep throttle, so you can get, oh my God. That's, brother, just send me that message in Discord, please. Next time. That's a lot. You guys are giving me a lot to read. I would want some type of pressure-fed system just because it's more reliable for a landing. And with pressure-fed systems, it's really easy to shut the engine off and turn it back on really, really fast. Not something that Raptors can exactly do. They can shut off and turn back on relatively quickly, but not to the extent of pulse width modulation that you'd need to do a precision lunar landing. I would much rather they go with hot gas methalox thrusters and then just click them, like have a cluster of hot gas thrusters, Nichols, like what they show, right? And then, say there's 12 all the way around. It's back to this torque and sequence thing, right? So you can turn on all 12 if you want maximum thrust, and instead of having an engine that you can throttle down and up, right? Say you want lower thrust, turn off 6 of them. And then just have 6 of them working in symmetry for a lower thrust application to do a precise landing. It's much easier to modulate thrust for a lunar landing doing something like that, rather than using a turbine-driven engine like Raptor or a shuttle engine or anything like that. The one exception to this rule would probably be an RL-10. RL-10s were originally designed to be made for a lunar landing engine. And with the expander cycle, it's much easier to modulate your throttle. And the RL-10 can basically throttle to not every version of the RL-10 can do this. If we made a lunar landing version of the RL-10, which exists, it's called the RL-10 CECE, if I'm remembering correctly. I'd have to go look. I'll show you in a second. With that version of the RL-10, you can deep throttle it down to like 5%. So it'd be really good in a landing application there. But we don't do that with RL-10s because they hydrolocks. We haven't solved that the boil off problem yet. Don't worry, that's getting solved very quickly, relatively fast. Whatever happened to the plans for the mini split? It's sitting in the pickup bed of the donor vehicle Dodge Ram. Yeah. I have family installing that wants to install it. So. Yeah. I love my family. I love them. That's all I'm saying. House, 18-month resub. 84 to 120 kilowatts on the ISS. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Crazy. Want to know something funny about Raptor config and Super Heavy's design? High-speed rotating machinery like turbopumps driven by pre-burners in each Raptor stores significant angular momentum. When the vehicle tries to rotate or change orientation, even slightly during flight or startup transients or landing burn, these spinning masses produce gyroscopic precession, and it will cause a torque perpendicular to the spin axis and the attempted rotational axis. So technically, it will cause the stack to start spinning on itself. It's a feedback loop. Raptor 1.5 had this, if you remember IFT1 spinning out of control because they lost thrust vector control. Luckily, Raptors 2 and 3, the pre-burners do not spin in the same direction. LOX and CH4 turbopumps are spinning in opposite directions with each engine that will nullify the net gyroscopic moment. Those were words. I understood that. I understood what he was saying. Yeah, they went with contra-rotating turbines. Smart. Real smart. That's probably one of the reasons why they can do that. Why they can start them up real quick. Rin, what's going on? Hey, recently been watching through your Factorio playthrough and having a great time. Hope you're doing well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the factory unfolds. Thanks for the VODs. We could play Factorio tomorrow if you want. I don't see why not. Yeah, Foz, you got a picture of the CECE working? It's the Common Extensible Cryogenic Engine. Yeah, here. Yeah, the CECE was a test that was put out, was a test program that NASA did to test deep throttling capability for the RL-10, just to see how good of a landing, just to see how good of a landing of a lunar lander engine the RL-10 could actually be. Or you could use it for Mars too. Yeah, so they tooled up an RL-10 and they changed the plumbing around with additional. Hold on, let me read. The CEC demonstrator engine was assembled from a mix of heritage RL-10 development hardware, valves from different programs, and CECE program unique parts needed to meet configuration and performance needs. These changes were essentially the control suite required to enable throttling of the CECE engine. I'm just going to call it CC. I'm pretty sure that's what they call it. Throttling the CC engine in a fixed geometry, high delta pressure injector to enable 10-to-1 throttling across the entire operating range. 10% throttle. That's ridiculous for any rocket engine. Any rocket engine that's turbine with your fuel delivery system that driven by turbines. The expander cycle configuration and control suite changes depicted in Figure 2 entailed the replacement of existing hydromechanical valves used in the production RL-10 engine at the turbine bypass TCV and oxidizer control valve OCV. To increase turbine bypass flow, a second larger turbine bypass valve, TBV, was added that was a heritage RL-60 electromechanically actuated valve. To isolate the fuel pump from downstream pressure fluctuations, a variable area cavity Venturi vac was used along with additional overboard cool-down valves, SDVVs. Yeah, Bonks. No, the CECE is probably about as deep as you're going to get for a turbine-driven engine. By modulation of the four main control valves, TBV, TCV, OCV, and VACV, the engine chamber pressure, PC, mixture ratio, MR, and turbopump speed were controlled by the use of a digital electronic rocket engine controller called Derek! I'm enjoying a treat, Derek! Yeah, they hot rodded an RL-10 with some components, some more modern electromechanical valves. Can you share? Don't I look like a big P? I'm enjoying a treat, Derek! Derek! Okay, so there's the VAC right there. There's your TBV and TCV. Interesting. Oh, they used it. Yeah, okay. They added more valves to the system. Or no, the VACV is up here. I pointed at that. Ignore me. They added an additional one over there. That's what they said. There's the original, and they added another one. Fine. EJ, it's the middle of the night. Here, sorry. The other thing to remember is that the Soviets solved this on the N1 by just installing half of the engine cluster clockwise versus counterclockwise. This made individual angular momentum vectors cancel out the overall vehicle. Russian solutions. Logan, been on vacation. Welcome back, dude. Yeah, they replaced it with modern valves. Let's see if the picture is here. It's a righteous picture of the. Yeah, look at this. This is the engine in a vacuum chamber at 105% engine throttle and then 10% engine throttle. At 10% engine throttle, your brazed cooling channels actually take all of the heat out of the motor. So at RL10, these ridges here that are going vertically are cooling channels. They're made out of brazed tubes and then held together with bands. If you guys like ever watched Roadrunner and Coyote, you know, like the Wild West wooden barrels that have a metal band around them and it's just a bunch of planks that are put together. They got a metal band around that, but with rockets. That it's called tube brazing. Old school way of making cooling channels. RL10s are still using that method. They still braze tubes to put them together. That's changing though with the newer versions of RL10, which are 3D printed. So because of this, because the cooling channels are taking all the heat and then some out of this, ice is actually accumulating on the rim of the nozzle. Crazy, right? Yeah, the propellants are too cold. There's not the nozzle is, because it's so deep throttled, it's not generating enough heat for this surface area and it's actually freezing. And it's icicles, therefore it's causing, it only causes a little bit of condensation on the outside and ice forms on the outside of the nozzle rim, which is just like, all right. Well, actually, they got that engine to run at 5.9. I said that in the beginning. I'm just going with what the PDF said. I knew it was, I said 5%, Baron, if you go back and look. And I thought I was incorrect by reading 10-to-1 throttle across operating range. So, yeah, turns out the old EJ brain was pretty good. Where's the vacuum chamber engine testing facility? I have no idea. The test program for the demo 1.6 engine, designated as demonstrator engine XR800-2. No, it's not a fax machine. A continuation of the demo 1.5 XR800-2 designation was conducted in Pratt & Whitney Rocketdyne's PWR's E6 test facility in November and December of 2008. It was conducted at their E6 test facility. I have no idea where that is. Does the specific impulse drop with deep throttling? Sea Kraken, I would say generally yes, you know, if we're just talking about any engine, but I'm fairly confident that the VACV, the TCV, the TBV, and the OCV being controlled by the digital electronic rocket controller, it seems like they're modulating the valves in rapid sequence to make sure that your turbines are being fed with the right amount of flow. And they obviously added another Venturi. They're doing that to facilitate constant flow even through different throttles. So my guess is with this particular engine, probably not. Maybe a little, but probably not. That's probably why the valves are there. It's at Stennis, so there you go. Yeah, Yuri, I said 5 when this first came up a second ago. Hey, Michael, what's going on? How are you and your family? We're doing okay. Yeah, we're doing all right. It's 5% throttle. Yeah. It was 5. They got it down to 5, but this PDF says 10-to-1 but that's general high-level overview. I think the rocket would need a dynamic variable throat to constrain the pressure at deep throttling. It would depend on the nozzle design, O-Force. I think because the RL10 is a relatively small engine, you can get away with it. And that absolutely is what your OCV is for in this design, to make sure they're modulating mixture. So like, okay, oh, the OCV, all right, I can speak to this. That OCV, the oxidizer control valve, is there to, that's your variable. Instead of a variable throat, they went with a variable valve. All right? So variable valve timing and electronic lift control. No, it's not a Honda. So with that OCV, what they're most likely doing here is leaning out the mixture at lower throttles to try and introduce more, try and introduce more bang. Actually, you'd probably be better off getting away with that with hydrogen, but then again, hydrogen's a pain in the butt. And yeah, the flow would be screwed up. I bet you they're using the OCV to maintain combustion chamber pressure. The RL10 does not have a high combustion chamber pressure. They're probably leaning it out to put heat in there to spread it out to make more pressure. That's my guess. And clearly it's not a big deal. Clearly leaning this RL10 out is not a big deal because it's an expander. Like that, it's actually super smart now that I'm sitting here and actually thinking about it. That's a really good idea. Looks like Raptor 3 sea level SN177 was spotted today at McGregor. That's crazy. The issue is that to deep throttle, you need lower chamber pressure, so you can't accelerate the gases fast enough out the nozzle. Yeah, Lava, like I said, I think the OCV is the key to this design. I'm pretty sure. If I'm just thinking about it, I mean, we could go read if you guys want how much time you got. This is a 25-page PDF. It's not too bad. But yeah, stuff like this, these NTRS docs are part of the reason why I know so much about just random freaking components like this, because it's public information and you can go and read. The difference between me and everybody else is that I have the patience to go and read all this because I like this stuff. Can I deep throttle the rocket engine? It's kind of my thing. How about no? Crazy streamer, man. The team tried to go lower than 5.9, but the engine had a turbo pump stall and cavitation damage. I'd believe that. Like I said, your real key here is that OCV. They're leaning it. They're leaning the mixture out. Putting more oxygen in there. To get more heat into the engine to keep the chamber pressure high. I mean, the mixture that's probably coming out of this thing at 10% throttle is not anywhere near stoic. My guess is they're leaning it to keep it warm. We all know you have OCD. No, OCVs right there. Pratt & Whitney major testing facilities with the Columbus Engine Center in the U.S. and the R&D hub in Rzeszów, Poland. Cool. Does the spacing of the Mach diamonds change with the level of thrust? Yes. They actually get closer and further apart from each other. Think like an accordion. Same idea. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm understanding this right. I'm pretty sure they're leaning it out with the OCV to make that work. I mean, yeah, you're going to snuff the flames out. Otherwise, any lower than this, you're going to lose pressure. Like, let me see. I want to read this. Primary objectives of Demo 1.6 engine testing were to determine the new injector's effectiveness to mitigate low power chug instability and the effectiveness of reduced area gas venturi to mitigate the 1 hertz chamber pressure oscillations when the jacket is below supercritical conditions. Okay. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of, yeah. Can you imagine the noise this thing freaking makes at 10% throttle? That probably sounds like a buzz bomb or something. Like, like, hey, Katra, what's going on? What's the major perk of being able to throttle so low? Lunar landings, Katra. We're talking about what makes a good lunar landing engine. The test program for Demo 1.6 designated demonstrator engine XR800-2 was conducted at the E6 test facility. We already read that. The Demo 1.6 test series added 12 starts and 2,935 seconds of hot fire time for a total CC demonstrator program accumulated runtime of 27 starts and 5,000 seconds and change. A brief synopsis of each run and its test results are presented in the following paragraphs. All right. First, hot fire. It was a repeat of Demo 1.5's low power points to investigate chugging performance of the new injector. Yeah, they changed the injector plate around. And to characterize any potential differences in the engine's baseline performance. Hang on, fellas. Do they... Oh, no. I just need to go up. Lessons learned from the Demo 1 and 1.5 engines were subsequently applied in a Phase 2 Option 1 extent. Okay, right. The main task with this option designed and manufactured new injector and engine system components incorporated into a Demo 1.6 engine configuration and tested in 2008. Primary goal of Demo 1.6 was to demonstrate that stable LOX LH2 deep throttling could be achieved with high performance pump-fed engine system and to capture the critical data for use in future designs. Demo 1.6 was a very successful technology advancement engine accumulating 2935 seconds of system-level data over 12 hot fire tests and expanded the range of cryogenic deep throttling to a 13 to 1, 105 to 8% power throttling ratio. A subsequent Phase 2 Option 3 program was developed and underway and begun in 2009. You know, I wonder if one of these things was going to be used ultimately for an Altier lander, for the Altier lander for Constellation. Timeline fits. Demo 1.7, 17.6 to 1, 105, 5.9. Yep, there it is. In English. Hang on, let me get that. Have you seen the most recent CSI Starbase? Using those baby Raptors as landing thrusters makes a ton of sense. Yeah, maybe. Okay, thanks. Just want to be sure your reasoning was correct. Archie, you found a nearly 1,000-page document from August of '69 saying how to fly these CSM. You found the operations manual. Any rocket launches soon? Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. I have next space flight up for a reason up there. How about this? A few engines give you 90% of the thrust you need, then power hot gas thrusters off the autogen lines. Never seen this before. I might need to boost it. All right, well, I wanted to see what they were doing with the mixture.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start. Have ignition. All right, can looks clean. We're good there. We can get our ramps, our control valves. We're 53%. Look good.
Meteor tracking vibes.
We're
It's really
tracking
low.
at 0.8.
Thanks. Okay, we're looking at a half.
Fuel pressure's coming down. We're 20 seconds now.
So they called fuel pressure drop. Interesting.
Launches in. Yep. It's coming down. All right. Power right now is at 50%. All right, LOX looks good. Fuel looks good, rather.
Dude, look at the ice accumulating on the inside of the brazed tubes, inside of the nozzle. That's actually insane. How did this thing not blow up? Like, how did it not explode? This was a successful program. I mean, the tech really never went anywhere, but this works. Like, how is that not...
4%. Now 24. Now to 14. EC3 is on. You're good at LOX temp and fuel temp looks good. So you're currently holding at 15.5% power.
Yeah, it's just chugging out water because the water it recondenses in the nozzle. You gotta be kidding me. It's just idling. Yeah, they're around 800 RPM, Bill. We're good. Yeah, the water's recondensing before it gets to the end of the nozzle, and it's freaking making it rain.
Okay, we're ramping back up to, we're at 65.
Plus 60 seconds.
Cam lights came on here. Yep. Should be ramping here to 100% power shortly. There we go.
Dude, this is a super good idea. I'm almost, we don't know too much about Blue Origin's BE7 engine, but if I had to guess, I'll bet you their BE7 engine it does something exactly like this. I mean, I'm just putting it out there.
Coming off here. Yep.
That's icicles accumulating on a rocket engine. Is this a cold gas thruster technically? Can we call it a condensed gas thruster instead? Is that doable, Hokey? Can we call it that? Not cold gas thruster. Cold condensed gas thruster. Ah. Don't lick it, Kuju.
18 about.
Oh, some of the icicles coming off.
We will be shutting down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shut down.
Oops. Nope. We can watch that some other time. So the accumulation, how much delta V is that sapping since the material isn't leaving the vehicle? I mean, it's probably not a non-insignificant amount. It's probably something that you'd have to take into account, but I don't think it's too much. The forbidden popsicle. Yep. That's cool. All right, I'll see myself out. Dude, I need to know how they're doing that. I'm sorry. We're in the deep throttling rabbit hole. We're in the throttle bucket rabbit hole. All right? I need to know. I'm wondering, let's search mixture. Let's get right to the source, mixture ratio. Exploration propulsion technology development has benefited from the operational performance and understanding that comes from such an adaptable engine system and from directly applicable technologies accumulated during the engine's development that would require significant cost and effort to replicate. That is one hell of a sentence, guys. They're engineers, not writers. Okay. Past RL-10 development efforts specifically oriented towards in-space lunar exploration missions have included long mission durability, combustion stability, contamination resistance, high vacuum operation, micrometeoroid damage tolerance, multiple start capability, propellant system conditioning, mixture ratio adjustment. Yeah, you can do that with the RL-10. You can adjust mixture. Not by much, but I mean, with this one you can. The RL-10's magic, dude. Yeah, see, they're modulating. They're using the OCV, TCV, and TBV along with the variable area cavitating venturi, right? They're using those to keep the heat into the engine, to keep it going, so so it doesn't snuff the damn flames out because it's getting so cold. So they're not restricting the nozzle so much as restricting the fuel. That variable geometry venturi, or the variable area cavitating venturi. Yeah, they're cavitating their own damn propellant in their fuel line.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
I'm trying to figure that out exactly, Kerbal Guy. Are they restricting fuel flow to throttle it or something else? So, yeah. Well, they have... So, okay. Little high-level overview of the RL-10. Hydrogen there's a bleed valve. All right, there's bleed valves in the RL10's design. You could see one of them right there. Okay, this is called the RL10 pre-start. The bleed valve opens, and head pressure from the tank fills this line right here and submerges the impeller. Okay, you have two bleed lines on both sides to basically fill the impeller with liquid hydrogen, right? And then fill the engine up with propellant, the nozzles, or not the nozzles, the cooling channels, these things. These guys right here, to fill, it saturates those with liquid hydrogen. What happens after that is that you have gaseous hydrogen that goes through a cavitating venturi into a turbine. And this hydrogen that's heated up, that is turned to gas, pressurizes the line and spins the turbine. From there, the gaseous hydrogen, which is well atomized and well spread out, goes into your injector plate assembly and gets atomized with liquid oxygen. Now, where does the liquid oxygen come from? Well, the RL10 has a gearbox inside of it. It has a gearbox. On your hydrogen shaft over here, you have a gear. They're helical gears, if I'm remembering correctly. And those helical gears turn your liquid oxygen impeller. So once this thing starts driving, that thing starts driving. And during the pre-start, they saturate the engine up, and when the gas starts turning this whole mechanism, they turn on the main valves, and they open up the where the OCV is. They modernized it, but yeah, the oxidizer control valve. And it atomizes the propellants, and boom, there you go. Can you please check page 8, paragraph under figure 5? Is this the same thing? It's not. No, not right now. I want to finish this. All I heard was the retro encabulator. Yeah, I know. I still think it is such a waste that you're not working at NASA, SpaceX, or whatever. I fix car go fast. How does it throttle? Is it the restriction of propellant? Yes. Your valve control mechanism is really the key here. That one specifically. This meter, okay, Hellfish. That valve, so the TBV in this design, okay? This thing. Wastegate. By modulating the pressure in this line, hence why the venturi is there, by modulating the pressure in this line, you can change the RPM on your hydrogen turbo pump. And if you could change, because it's geared to the LOX pump, you could change that, right? Along with a metering valve over here, a variable pressure regulator, right? Yeah, you could screw with mixture here. You could throttle it. That's your throttle valve right there. That's the thing that controls the throttle. It's a wastegate. It's literally a wastegate. It's the same thing. Same idea. It alleviates pressure from your charge pipes. It's a wastegate. I bet you it looks similar. Except, it doesn't vent overboard. But because of EJ, there's now way more SpaceX Blue and NASA engineers that he alone would have filled. Yeah, exactly. I'm much better teaching it. Because we've made more engineers, Major. Yeah, so it works like a wastegate. It alleviates gas going to the turbine and bypasses it. That coupled with an oxidizer control valve, right? Yeah. Now, what they did with the CC demo is they have a turbine control valve. So one valve is going one way, the other one's going the other way. My guess is if that's your wastegate, that's your blow-off valve. Blow off valve probably isn't really the right way to say it. The TCV is working more like EGR on exhaust gas recirculation on a car in this particular design. Now, so what they did was with the TCV and the TBV, you can use these to throttle up and down. You can either
Discovery, go and throttle up.
you can either build pressure back into your charge pipe, or you can bypass the charge pipe altogether. Coupled that with a very sophisticated oxidizer, variable geometry oxidizer control valve, and the variable cavitation venturi to be able to meter the flow correctly going into the expander to the cooling channel. Yeah, you could throttle this however the hell you want. 5.9%, dude. With the right controls behind this, so that Derek thing with the right avionics package behind this, yeah, absolutely. And this would make a fantastic lunar landing engine. It would work really good. And RL10s are a very small package, super efficient, and they give out good enough thrust. 100 kilonewtons, that's fine. That's good enough. Couldn't imagine tuning one of these. It's all fuel mapping, Bonks, like a Haltech or something, dude. It's all fuel mapping nowadays. It's all proprietary fuel mapping. Well, yeah. This one has very ridiculous fuel mapping. I just really want to see if they screw with that mixture. A throat effective area of 80 square inches was selected because it remains choked with ample margin at all operating conditions, while also permitting the widest mixture range ratio to be achieved. They freaking choke. Yeah, they put a choke on it. They decreased throat effective area. Yep. So, I don't know if you guys know shotguns at all. A shotgun with a choke on the end. That, but with rocket engines. The RL10's Yuri, I highly doubt we're ever going to stop using one of these. Tangentially related, hydrogen. BMW has now made a hydrogen fuel cell system the same size as the battery pack, and they put that in their electric cars. The range is 385 miles. However, the hydrogen is stored at 700 bar. Not sure I want to be sitting on top of that. Would you rather sit on a tank of gas or a lithium battery? I mean, they're all going to blow up if they get hit hard enough. You know? Just putting it out there. How do you deal with not getting your commodities up to operational temp with such low heat in the nozzle? Katra, what I think they're doing is leaning the engine out with the oxidizer control valve. They're adjusting the mixture ratio to go lean to put that heat in, to put heat into the damn thing to keep it warm. Because it's freezing. The damn thing is freezing. And the gases are recondensing. And keep in mind, guys, this is a vacuum testing chamber. Your gases are recondensing in the nozzle in the vacuum. Which is, all right. All right, dude. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I think they're leaning this damn thing out. HR-18 was subsequently attempted on November 17th, but the run was aborted at 1.5 seconds due to a fuel venturi chamber pressure interlock safety abort, a parameter that checks to see that the locks and fuel delivery to the engine are synchronized, thereby maintaining a proper engine mixture ratio. Post-abort data analysis shows that the OCV start was delayed beyond the limit setting, causing the interlock abort. An adjustment was made to the OCV start schedule and the test was attempted again. Closed loop trim appeared to work well with adequate chamber pressure and mixture ratio authority. Yeah, that closed loop trim is what they're using to modulate the valves. I just want to see if they lean it out at all. 3501 was a 356.9 second test conducted on the 29th of March to begin investigation of closed loop CLC. Closed loop checkout in throttling and mixture ratio variations. Closed loop trim appeared to work well. Following the start to 60% power, throttle ratio was varied over power levels ranging from 75 to 40. Okay, one more. 4301 was on the 13th, 246.5 seconds of the planned 370-second burn, including simultaneous thrust and mixture ratio variations, 6-3. Whoa. 6-3? Yeah, that's what I thought. 6-3. Guys, all right. I had to look it up. Stoichiometry for liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen is 8-1 by mass. Rear-road rocket engines deliberately run fuel-rich. That's correct. With an oxidizer to fuel ratio of 6-1. That's 6-3. Is the PDF backwards? Hold on. Yeah, see, I don't know if the PDF is oxygen fuel or fuel to oxygen. You were backwards? Yeah. That's ridiculous. Yeah, they're leaning it out. They lean the freaking engine out. So a 2-1 instead of 8-1 with the oxidizer control valve. The reason why they're doing that is because oxygen sucks at absorbing heat. It's a terrible heat conductor. It's really bad. Like, it does not absorb heat very well. So that heat will end up getting conducted into the engine. And the oxidizer just gets blown out the bottom as hot gas. Which is what happened. I can't say much, to be honest, but you're close. The reason they modified the injector was because they were experiencing the chug phenomenon. It's low instability that happens between 10 and 400 hertz. I know, we were reading about it. They said it in the PDF there. It can be solved by increasing injector pressure drop and some damping devices. Yeah, the leaning it out is not the only component here, but yeah, I'm specifically looking for how they kept heat into the damn thing. How did it not just snuff out the flames at 5% throttle? It's crazy, dude. That's a really cool little engine. I forgot all about that. But yeah, that's probably concluding the whole thing. That is probably the only turbine engine that I would want to do a lunar landing with. The CC motor. Yeah. What were we looking at? We were looking at a variation of the RL10 engine, Bright, called the CC motor, CECE. It was a version of the RL10 that was tested about, I don't know, at this point about 18, it's almost 20 years ago, and it's a version of an RL10 with electromechanical control valves that with a computer controlling your electromechanical valves, and it can deep throttle like 5%. It can deep throttle to 5% by modulating the mixture ratio and a couple of other things with the expander cycle. Yeah, it's pretty insane, dude. Yeah, we were just reading the PDF about it because we're talking about like what would make a good lander engine. That was a cool little rabbit hole. Shall we get to the rest of the space news? If you saw boil off, the RL-10cc would be very great for Mars landings too. Yuri, I have a hot take about this. My hot take is that use NTO and MMH. Pressure-fed systems, at least for the time being. And then use that to test boil-off mitigation techniques, you know, with the lander that works. Just saying. No, it's not topical to current events at all. We just, you know, had a hypergolic lander, we could just put hydrogen tanks on it for boil-off mitigation testing, and just land it and see how boil-off mitigation. Just, I'm just putting it out there. Like that's probably be a better way to test boil-off. Or use a hypergolic pump-fed engine if you want to be a bit more fancy. I think pressure-fed hypergulls are all you really need, Lava, at least in the smaller applications of landers. Yes, true, but also, if you've already tested it, it would be great. Yeah. Solve boil-off by adding an RTG-powered compressor to recycle the system. That could work. The RL-10 is the quadrajet of rocket engines. Yeah, use the RD-270. Proton engines. Stage combustion hypergol. All right. Can you imagine a full flow stage combustion cycle hypergol engine? That would actually be... That would be something, dude. Got the off topic for you. In my area, there was heavy transport warning from Lind to the harbor of Passau to be transported by river to Belgium, and the destination is KSC. They said rectification Columbus for an ASU. Interesting. Well, that's good to know. I've heard that the shuttle used more than 100% thrust. I've always heard about that, but my hander never got to that. Can you explain it? Rocket engines are rated on their baseline performance. So you build the rocket engine, you test it, it works. That you have 100% thrust. But say through some flight testing, you figure out a way to make a little bit more than that. Say it makes 100 kilonewtons of thrust, right? And then, okay, we do some optimizations here and there, messing with the mixture ratio or whatever. And you figure out that, it can actually, you could stretch the design a little bit without blowing the engine up. You could squeeze a couple more kilonewtons out of the design. Now it makes 105% or 105 kilonewtons. So it makes 105% of rated thrust. Make sense? It's not any more complicated than that. The RD-270 is N204 UDMH full flow stage combustion engine from 62 to 68 for the UR700. Yeah. Proton's engine is, which is a UR500, was the inspiration for that Yuri, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, did the RD-270 ever get some runtime, dude? Because full flow stage combustion with hypergulls is that, yeah, that could be useful. I'm not sure how useful. I mean, it'd be cool. Let me rephrase that. That would be really cool, but I don't think we need it, but that'd be pretty cool. The RD-270 has your favorite wiki sentence ever. During development, Valentin Blishko studied the use of pentaborane zip propellants, oh god, in a modified RD-270M engine. This would have created immense toxicity problems, but increased the specific impulse of the engine by 42 seconds. SLS applies to 109. Yep. I figured something out. I misinterpreted the hooks earlier. Each hook module has an active hook and a spring-loaded passive hook. You only need one set of hooks, technically, to get a good dock. But with the active hooks on both sides, you get redundancy. In case one side gets erroneously commanded to release for some reason, check DMs. Cool, man. Thank you. Yeah. I'll keep reading about it later. Yeah, nice diagram. That's actually a really smart way to do that. That thing would have gone up to like 360 seconds with hypergulls. Yeah. That's the big problem with hypergulls, other than them being horribly bad for you and kill you if you inhale some of it. They they really don't make good specific impulse. They're not efficient at all. They're they're not very efficient, but you're trading efficiency for a mechanically simple system. Pressure helium ullage pressure fed hypergol systems are very, very, very simple. Orion has them. Dragon has them. Starliner has them. Soyuz has that. Actually, I don't know if Soyuz has something exactly like that. I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, it is very, very simple, extremely reliable, not very efficient. The simplicity and the reliability is why Apollo ended up going with hypergulls for the landing engine and not using an RL-10. Also because of boil off. I agree. I think. Sorry about that. I've had a long day. I agree. I think that if I've always said this, and I'm just kind of hoping it's just kind of hopium at this point. I always think we should just use at least the manner of application that Apollo used to get back to the moon, because going with what works in space flight is usually a good idea. It's not even a matter of chamber pressure either. It's the molecular weight of the exhaust, if you remember the NTR ISP charts. Interesting. Interesting. All right. We were talking about different types of engines that would be good for lunar landers, Oliver. Space shuttle engine work, just saying. Pretty good motor. Could you simply explain the toxicity of hypergulls? Give me one moment. Hypergulls are carcinogenic. Bonks, the right way to say that is that they make your lungs very unhappy. Use an RS-25 to land on the moon. Yeah, I'll tell you what I'm not doing. They can cause severe liver damage, fatty degeneration of organs. Oh yeah, that's great. Red blood cell destruction leading to red blood cell destruction leading to anemia. RIP. Oh, yeah. Hypergulls will kill you now, soon, later, and over time. Yeah. Yeah. Fatty degeneration of organs. Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, that's like, yeah, let's just. Yeah, that's great. That's not great. Still worth it. Don't at me. I won't be adding you because you'll be dead. We're wanted men. I have the death sentence on 12 systems. I'll be careful. You'll be dead. I have fat to spare. I should be okay. Yeah, it's just like a GLP-1, dude. Oh, yeah. You'll lose weight. Should I get to the other? Here, look at this picture. We got more updates from Stoke on their test campaign out at Moses Lake, which has Titan 1 missile bases attached to it, which is pretty cool. We like Titan 1 missile bases. We figured that out the other day. The sun is set on our Stage 1 structure's time in Moses Lake, but it will soon rise over our launch site in Cape Canaveral. No one said the road to launch was easy, but it sure is a pretty ride. How much high dynamic range do you want? All of it. Talked about this and this showed up in your feed. So this is your monthly reminder that hazmat suits are not adequate in the applications of hypergalls. Do you see all 4 of those guys? Or if all 5 of the guys in this picture? They're all dead. They're all dead. All of them. No, I don't know that for sure, but physics doesn't lie. That's nitrogen tetroxide all over them. They're all dead. A hazmat suit is not going to protect you from that. Yeah, that's a standard hazmat suit. You don't use those. You use scape suits for hypergalls. Okay, you want to see this should put it into perspective, guys. Yeah, it's a good idea. Let's show everybody scape suits that understand that can, get what I'm talking about. All right. Hazmat suits are not adequate protection. That is a scape suit. No, not a space suit, a scape suit. That is what you need to protect yourself from hypergalls. It's quite actually a contained system. It's basically a space suit. Hazmat suits, that ain't gonna help you. Oh my goodness. Yes, 6 guys because the photographer is dead too. Like, that's awful. That's awful. Yeah. Say psych right now. No. I can't believe they let people do that in a freaking hazmat suit. There's no way that that's adequate protection. It's not. There's no way. Where's that picture from? China. Yeah, you guys want to know why I don't really talk about the Chinese space program too much? It's because of stuff like this. That's not. Those 2 are very dead. Very dead. Very dead. That's not. That's like Zerg rushing spaceflight. That's terrible. It's awful, and yeah, there's a reason I don't talk about that, and I'm not really 100% sure why nobody else does. Why people are like, oh, you see what they're doing? Yeah, I see what they're doing. Why don't you cover it? Dude, and I also want to point out the fact that they literally have to fuel a rocket. They have dudes just attaching fuel lines like it's a gas station. Like no umbilicals. Put the fuel line up to the rocket, and when it's fueled, just like European overregulation is a hindrance in many ways, but a blessing in many others. If that happened here, that pipe connection would be infinitely safer. It only has 4 bolts. Cayman, look, I know the U.S. has a reputation, too, for, like, you know, not being as safe as Europe, but we don't screw around with hypergulls, dude. We don't. That's not even like OSHA. Oh my God, safety. Like you'll die. Like there's a fly in here. Give me 1 second. Here, look at this cool picture of Nova. I gotta get the fly out of here. We got flies. Gosh dang son of a. This is the part where I open the door and let all the cold air into the shops to get the stupid fly out of here. Okay, I think he flew out actually. He probably didn't. I'll probably see him land on one of my studio lights again in a second. Get the salt gun. Yeah, he's like landing on the screens and stuff. I don't mind the fly like flying around. That doesn't bother me. But if he's on the screen that I'm trying to show you, it's a little distracting. And I'm not shooting the damn screen either. Okay. All right, I think we're good. So Nova Rocket has completed its qualification testing, which means that they're gonna put some engines on this bad boy and launch it out of LC-14, which is pretty cool. There's a shot of LC-4. Hello. No, meat snack. We got a terrible winter. The warm weather's mine. You can't have it. Storm the expedition company's high for us to European engine program. Oh, interesting, Lava. Stop being soft. It's for prosperity, innit? Yeah, whatever. I absolutely despise that the Chinese regularly drop those hypergolic stage boosters in populated villages. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, they're those stages that have residual hypergulls, they land next to like schools and villages. Sometimes on them. Yeah, that's lovely. New shot of LC-14, dude. That's pretty cool. Stokes making some progress. I still think they're a little ways out. They're probably maybe a Nova launch, maybe by the end of the year. We'll see. It's like the first time scientists made plutonium, didn't know how radioactive it was. Yeah. Sad thing is that it's completely avoidable. Yep. Like I said, the reason, like, I'm not going to say we're laissez-faire with safety. Like, we're, you know, but I'm not going to say that the U.S., like, has the best track record for this either. We're pretty good. But also, you never hear about anybody dying from hypergulls here. Ever. Like, ever. You know why? Because there's excessive regulation and safety precautions, and then there's also, like, not dying. Yeah. Fueling for, like, an ESM for Orion takes a little bit of time because you have to be very careful. Remember, if you have a leak, hope there's no MMH in the air, or else the whole place is going to go up. You got to be very careful. It's like, what was the... Oh, yeah, the Me-163, the Germans. The Germans with the Messerschmitt 163, the Comet. It's using T-Stoff, hypergolic propellants. They had a couple of problems during fueling at times with that thing. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's not great. How about using hydrogen peroxide? Oh, right, that's toxic too. Hexapod, you want to hear something cool? Hydrogen peroxide one of the only like chemical combinations that can be used as oxidizer or fuel. Pretty cool, huh? See last. Okay. How's the upper stage progress? I'm sorry? On Nova? I don't know. They haven't given us pictures of it yet. Soon. Like I said, they wouldn't be shipping out the first stage to Kennedy sooner rather than later, in their own words, if there wasn't something out there. My guess is that they'll do quals on the second stage tank soon. The spacer, James? Oh, for SLS? Yeah, but I think we were talking about Nova. So we got an update from a Canadian launch startup company called Nord Space. That's terrible, Baron. Man, do you have a long delay? Why? I don't think so. They should do like a Polaris 2 mission where Crew Dragon docks to HLS before sent to an uncrewed lunar landing demo. Orbits, I do believe that that's what the Polaris 2 mission was before Jared Isaacman became NASA administrator. I'm fairly confident that that's what Polaris 2 was. Yeah, Dragon docking with Starship HLS in low Earth orbit, and then use that HLS for the prop transfer demo. I do believe that's just Artemis 3 now, instead, because that would make a lot of sense, because Jared Isaacman is the administrator. Huh. That makes sense. Anyway, here's a look inside the belly of the beast, the interior of one of the countless in-house metal 3D printed Hadfield 10 combustion chambers we've developed over the years, tested and iterated upon. Much of our team is now working on our orbital class hardware and infrastructure to get Canada to orbit for the first time with our Canadian-made and owned Tundra Light Lift and Tundra Plus medium lift rockets. However, this is the engine that proved we could design, manufacture, and test soon. Test and soon fly liquid rocket engines from scratch, entirely in-house in a commercial setting, at the pace necessary to reach orbit and deliver operational capabilities. With the upcoming launch of Taiga, powered by the Hadfield 10, it would be the first commercial liquid rocket to ever launch from Canadian soil. A necessary step towards launching larger rockets at scale with capital efficiency, technical experience, and operational excellence in a true made-in-Canada sovereign capacity that lasts decades and beyond. The same architecture also retires significant risk for our Tundra rocket, has grown into our in-house talent development program, Rocket League, and serves as the design for a future kick stage to deliver payloads to higher orbit. Cross-sections and interiors of our combustion chamber reveal critical details our team uses to continue to improve designs and processes. Manufacturing precision related to the integrated regenerative cooling channels, combustion and flow characteristics, carbon layers, injector performance, damage and failure modes from off-nominal tests. The knowledge that now flows directly into our patent-pending turbopump-fed Hadfield orbital-class engine, the most powerful rocket engine in Canadian history, designed to power our Tundra Light Lift and Tundra Plus medium rockets. Did AI write this? Architected from day one to grow to the thrust levels required for a reusable Tempest, formerly referred to as Titan, medium lift vehicle targeting 5,000 kilograms to low Earth orbit, all while striking the right balance between performance, scalability, heritage, and speed of development to meet the Government of Canada's targets. Rough road to the stars. Oh, okay, Andrew. Hey, Vargon, what's up, dude? Uh, uh, you're kind of missing a couple of pieces there. What? How? Um, I could you say out loud, "Hi, Carl. Nice that you're watching." Sure. You. How does this engine atomize fuel? Um, Single pintle, maybe. I. That is a big pintle. Um, it's missing the plate, dude. There's no plate in this design. There's well, unless you have a pintle assembly that goes in here, in which case they removed it. But yeah. Did not say this was only the thrust chamber. Um, yeah, the thrust chamber usually is attached to an injector plate. And by usually, I mean, it always is attached to an injector plate. There's no injector plate in this design. Either that or, like Lava Eagle said, they're using a pintle injection system, which means a pintle injector system means that they're getting radial flow out of their injector. So, their fuel injector is like if you had a garden hose and you put your thumb over the top of it and it shot out sideways. So this piece up here, this cylinder up here is where you'd mount the pintle injector, and you'd spray fuel and oxidizer out onto the sides. But yeah, I mean, yep. Okay. Mutter, let me see. Yep. There it is. There. Yeah. Okay. That makes more sense. Great forging work. I do believe it's 3D printed. Yeah, so they took the injectors out. That's why I was like, there's no injector in this design. That's very weird. I'm wondering if that I think that this is not well, let me see. Yeah, it is the same size. Yeah, how big is this engine? Maybe this big? Dude, that's like the size of a Rutherford engine. So it shoots fuel radially? Is that what the last picture shows? The part with all the holes? Yeah. The part that looks like a dirt bike muffler. Yes. It's a pintle injector. They're using a very interesting pintle injector, if I do say so myself, but yes. Is that to scale? I don't know, man. Oh, this thing, yeah. Okay, these engines are tiny. Did I read that right? They wanted to use this to make a vehicle that moves 5 tons to Leo? They want to use these motors? Did I read that correctly? Also, are those transmission jacks holding that rocket up? They are. They're transmission jacks. Cross-section interiors of combustion. The critical details our team uses to improve designs and processes. Okay. The knowledge now flows directly into our patent-pending turbopump-fed Hadfield orbital class engine, the most powerful engine in Canadian history, designed to power our Tundra Light Lift and Tundra Plus medium rockets, architected from day one to grow to the thrust levels required for our reusable Tempest medium lift vehicle targeting 5,000 grow to the thrust levels.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Need to see something. Okay. Okay. I do like that. The whole thing can fit into a sea can. That's pretty cool. Pour tous les Canadiens. Right? I don't think I said it completely right. This tweet talks about them switching from the 10 to 100 engine. More of our team is transitioning towards getting our much larger orbital class Hadfield 100 engine ready for the test stand. What are you gonna? So, look, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I'm gonna be a little bit of a dick here. Like they're trying to develop a 1-ton and a 5-ton class vehicle, 4 different sets of propulsion. You know, upper stage, first stage for the 1-ton vehicle, and upper stage, first stage for the 5-ton vehicle, all at once. You're gonna do that all at once, and you're a startup. Okay, fellas, look. There's nothing wrong with ambitious goals. There's nothing wrong with that. These goals are not ambitious. Dude, that's like when I play video games, right? And I purposely like make the difficulty like borderline insane for good entertainment. You know, like when we play games, I haven't been playing a lot of games lately, but when we do play games, I crank the difficulty to maximum every time because it's more fun that way. Right? You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that with rocket science, okay? It's already difficult. Just make one rocket and make it work. Like, dude, not even SpaceX could handle doing this without a gigantic $900 million cash infusion or something from Commercial Orbital Transport Services to build Falcon 9. In fact, that's the only reason why SpaceX got as good as they did was because they had a gigantic investment from NASA to deliver cargo to the space station. SpaceX did tentatively have plans to make a Falcon 1, Falcon 5, and Falcon 9 eventually, right? But they switched from Falcon 1 directly to Falcon 9 and then abandoned Falcon 1 when they got the seed money from NASA. These goals are insanely ambitious for
Discovery, go at throttle up.
for scratch building. Like, and once again, there's nothing wrong with having goals. I'd just be genuinely curious what your time frame is for this. If they already have people working on their Hadfield 100 engine right now, right? That means that I'm generally wondering when Tempest is supposed to first fly. Yeah, they're not giving any timelines. It's an engine series based on the same design. Hadfield 10 small engines, 100 for medium, and Hadfield 150 for the even larger one. How about you just make one and make it work? Like, I'd love to talk to the Nord Space CEO or something at some point. Like, and once again, I'm not concern trolling. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but how are you going to develop all this without millions of dollars? That's my genuine question. 3D printing is only going to get you so far. There's a reason why people don't 3D print big rockets. I think you're reading into this too much, as they are probably starting small and working up past that. No, they're not, RJ. They're doing the opposite of that, just in that last tweet. No, if I was running this company right now, I would just Hadfield 10, make a rocket that works. That move from a single Hadfield 10 engine demonstrator to a clustered engine demonstrator vehicle that is somewhat in line with Electron in terms of capability, right? And then launch that a lot. The fact that they're even working on a Hadfield 100 engine at this phase in your startup is borderline insane. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with ambitious goals, and there's nothing wrong with telling people your ambitious goals. But also, the way this isn't the first Nord Space post that I've talked over. The way they talk about this seems like that upscaling your rocket engine and then scaling up production numbers of rocket engines are some easy thing to do. Well, all we got to do is design one engine, and then we can just design a bigger engine, and then we could just make a lot of them. No, that's not how. No, those are extremely difficult things to do. I think they could take the engine model, scale it in a model like Blender, and run it through a printer. Yeah. Dude, for a rocket startup company that wants to get into the launch vehicle game, so like homogeneous rocket launch capability, working on two forms of scratch-built propulsion is insane. No. Get that Hatfield 10 engine going, learn how to scale that thing, make a lot of them, and then use that in a small sat launcher. And then try to launch that thing as much as you possibly can. Yeah, Alex, yeah, I get you. Is the Hadfield 100 the Electron Rutherford equivalent? I don't know. Their first attempt spewed fuel over the pad and then they blamed the fuel. Yes, I remember that, all systems. That's, honestly, that is 100% where I get this kind of biased against Nord Space, because they wanted to put a demonstrator rocket on the pad, which essentially looked like two beer kegs kind of welded to each other with a rocket, with one of these rocket engines below it. And then they went to launch the thing and it just puked all of its fuel out of the rocket engine. The rocket engine looked like an overhead sprinkler. And then the pad caught on fire. And then they tweeted about it a couple hours after, blaming the fuel. Oh, the fuel wasn't the fuel we were expecting. What do you mean it wasn't the fuel you were expecting? Did you test it? Probably should have. And then we haven't heard a peep from them about that since. Like, they said that the locks they were testing is different than the locks that they got in Nova Scotia was, or the locks in fuel that they got in Nova Scotia was different than the ones that they got. It was different than the ones that they got in Ontario, which is just like, what, you put the wrong octane in, dude? It seems like a blame everyone besides themselves. Yeah, Isabel, that's exactly it. That's the vibe that I got. And ever since then, I kind of take whatever they say with a grain of salt. Because look, if you're gonna, the first time you went and put a rocket on the pad, you blamed everyone but yourself. Nah, that's not how this works at all. Spaceflight is about being accountable. You want your rocket to launch, you have to be accountable to yourself. You can't lie to yourself and you can't lie to other people, because physics will make you look stupid if you don't. Or if you do. Whose fault is it? It's your fault. Check the fuel next time. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it with that attitude. I'm sorry, you're not. Like, I don't mean to be a gatekeeping pile of crap. Like, and I kind of am. Like, I'm kind of being a jerk here. I get it. Like, it's, you know, the flip side of that is that they're a new company, et cetera, et cetera. But, dude, a new company, if you're that inexperienced that you're not going to test the fuel, what is it, an Estes rocket? You're talking about getting to the orbital class game here. There's nothing wrong with a steep learning curve, et cetera, et cetera. And, there's nothing, dude, even if the rocket puked all of its guts out all over the pad and you say, we didn't realize we needed to test the fuel, and that's what caused it. We'll test the fuel next time. We'll get back to fly. Even that is okay. But saying, oh, it's a different mixture. It's a different mixture of fuel, and the different mixture of fuel is why it blew up, and it's not really our fault that our pad caught on fire. Like, no, it is your fault. Own it, learn from it, and move on. But don't sit here and pretend like you're new into this, rocket industry and you can scale a you could scale your propulsion architecture from a Hatfield 10 to a Hatfield 100 and then a 250, and then simultaneously work on a small sat launcher with 1 ton capacity and a medium duty sat launcher with 5 ton capacity. Tempest is also supposed to be reusable. Yeah. They also want to make it land. That's why I kind of take what Nord Space says with a grain of salt. Like, and there's nothing wrong with learning. Okay? There's nothing wrong with a learning curve. Like, it happens. Like, it happened to Blue the other day. Learning curve. This stuff's difficult and I get it. But I don't like it that, like, you're going to blame everybody but yourself for your rocket blowing up on your launch pad. That's not a good look, dude. That's not, yeah, that's just, that ain't a good look, man. Just like EJ25s. See, we're talking head gasket, crankshaft sitting on the pavement. Bad, bonks. The whole thing caught on fire. Like, I don't know, man. You guys want to scale to light lift and then medium lift and scale your propulsion threefold over? Like, okay, good luck. That's what I mean about ambitious goals. There's nothing wrong with having ambitious goals. But what are we doing here? Like, and I would love for them to prove me wrong. I always want more rockets. More rockets are great. That'd be really cool. Like, that'd be really cool if they launch from Nova Scotia. I'll probably be able to see it. And their launch site is beautiful, but like, I don't, yeah, what are you trying to do here? See, last time frame is not happening. What do you got, Foz? I don't know anything about rockets, and I know dual tasking propulsion projects from scratch is a bad idea, right? That's really ambitious. I bet in their mind it's just the same engine. It'll behave mostly the same. What did I say when we were talking about landing engines before, Aqualex? Just because you double the size of the rocket engine doesn't mean it's making double the thrust. That's not really how physics works. Test video only 18 months ago. That actually looked pretty good. Let's see. Pause. I don't see or any other lasts in there. But... Is that hospital grade LOX that's just on a dolly sitting next to the pad? Good luck. Good luck. Yeah, okay. 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 No, because that would be super dangerous. Yeah, the fact that it gets engulfed in the flames from the rocket is very, no. And, it's condensing there, meaning that it's definitely getting heated up. Yeah, that LOX tank is getting heated up. That's yeah, yeah. See all the steam coming off of it? The rocket engine is heating up that pressurized tank. That's great. I'm sure that's fine. Yeah, why is the rocket crooked? Yeah, I know, Bonks. Ridiculous. Yeah, it's crooked, but I do they have any other videos? See last two. Could be, man. Never could trust a kid. Yeah, I know, right? Only half the rocket is on the top. This is a lot smaller than Electron, yes. That's the rocket behind that dude right there. $4 months ago.
It was just a few months ago that eyes across the province were glued to a live YouTube feed waiting to see a rocket launch from St. Lawrence. The launch got postponed for technical reasons, but the CEO of the company behind the launch, Nordspace, was back in the province recently. I sat down with Rahul Goyal to talk about their plans to build a commercial spaceport in St. Lawrence. Rahul Goyal, thank you very much for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So it was just a few months ago, we were all glued to the YouTube feed, watching that countdown, hoping to see the rocket launch. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But I guess what is the status now? When do you plan to be back to try another launch?
We'll be back in a couple of weeks. Our first planned launch for 2026 is March. So continue.
Give it a second.
Difference this time around.
So I guess just backing up a little bit, tell us a bit about what Nordspace is, what it does.
Yeah, so Nordspace is an end-to-end space missions company. So one of our key focuses is developing sovereign space launch for Canada. So Canada has a very rich history in space, but we've never actually sent our own satellites into orbit before. We've always relied on other nations to do that. We're the only G7 nation that hasn't developed this capability. We're behind several others as well. For the first time now in Canadian history, the federal government has invested in and signaled that sovereign space launch is important. So really great news for us and for Newfoundland. So that's kind of the key of what we're doing, developing this launch capability. And around that, we're developing satellites, our spaceport in St. Lawrence, and satellite systems that do everything from detecting wildfires to monitoring the Arctic.
And why did you choose St. Lawrence as a location?
Oh, they're making satellites too.
Well, we wanted to launch over the ocean. We looked at all the different provinces across Canada, and we needed a certain amount of clearance as well from the closest towns to be able to launch medium lift launch vehicles over time. So Newfoundland ended up being such a lovely and friendly place to work out of. And then we started looking for locations along the southeast coast so that we can launch eastward. And just happened upon St. Lawrence, and it checked all the boxes. I showed up the next day, and it was beautiful and it worked. So we're very grateful to be here.
You mentioned the fund for sovereign space launch announced in the federal budget, $182.6 million. What does that mean for Nordspace?
Oh, that means so much, and really for so many individuals who've been working for decades to get to this point. You know, this is exactly the catalyst we need in order to develop this capability.
Wait a minute, all systems. They gave him $180 million. The hell am I doing wrong?
Quickly. There's no question that Canada is, from a launch perspective, behind the eight ball, but this is an opportunity now for us really to catch up and get back into
Want to move here? No, I don't.
the race, reclaim jobs, IP, tax dollars that we send abroad to launch our assets into space, and reclaim our sovereignty in space and on Earth. So this is
Reclaim? Reclaim? He keeps saying that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. You should start some of your own company and join some of that funding for yourself. I'm not Canadian, so that's probably not going to happen. Yeah, you're close enough to Canada. Be a competitor to Nord Space. I'm not.
It's huge for Nord Space and for the Canadian space sector and for Canadians overall in so many ways.
While you're in the province, I gather you're meeting with the provincial government as well. What are you talking about with the province?
Well, we're really looking at ways to expand our relationship with the province. The province is looking to grow its aerospace expertise and industry, really tap into the increasing calls for sovereignty and defense, and we're working really hard to make sure that Nord Space is aligned with that and can support the province in those respects. But also working with the province on things like ensuring we're compliant with environmental assessments, regulations, working with the local communities so that we know exactly where the right places are to build everything from, not just the supporting infrastructure for a spaceport, but mission control, working with local contractors, and constantly consulting with local communities to make sure that everyone's really happy and feeling good about the project.
So why does this matter? Like, I guess, some people might argue there are more critical issues for governments to spend their money on. So why does it matter developing our own space launch capability?
Oh, it's so important, and it's such a good question too, because oftentimes, the tricky thing about space is the infrastructure, the satellites, they're invisible, they're up in space, and you kind of don't notice them. You don't see them like roads or power lines or cars and planes and such. But space allows us to operate our lives on Earth.
You see planes and cars.
They're invisible, they're up in space, and you kind of don't notice them. You don't see them like roads or power lines or cars and planes and such. But
okay,
space,
all right. I misunderstood. That was me. I was like, what? What did my brain just hear? That was me. All right, that was me.
Allows us to operate our lives on Earth every single day, from communication with loved ones, to agriculture, to the clothes you're going to wear the next day and understand the weather, to our own security and sovereignty, to protecting our wildlife and everything else. We're launching our first satellites next year. They're designed specifically to monitor wildfires, which is, of course, very important given what Newfoundland went through just a couple months ago.
So Nord Space is doing sat bus manufacturing too? What? How much seed money does this company have? Did they get Series A funding? Does anybody know this? You're not like, okay, once again, not trying to be a jerk, not trying to be a hater. That's not happening for $180 million. I mean, unless you're like laundering money or something. Like not implying anything. Like that's like 180 million is okay. Look, let me put it to you like this. Do I know a lot about rockets? Yes. Do I know a lot about building stuff? Yes. Sure. Am I familiar with systems engineering, con ops, etc., etc.? Yes, very. If somebody said, I have $180 million, I want you to design a rocket for me, EJ. Okay, I will do this. Would I do, like, I want you to run the company. Could I design it myself? Hell no, not a chance. I would hire people that do, though. And, say that it's like, okay, here's $180 million, here you go. How big of how big a rocket can you make? And I would probably come back and say, I can develop a rocket that will put a shoebox into space for that amount of money. Yeah, so we're talking maybe 10 kilos, 20 kilos, maybe. Maybe. Like that for $180 million, scratch built, vertically integrated, doing all of it yourself, which is what they want to do. Yeah, shoebox. That's about it. Yeah, I think I could do that. I think I know enough people to hire the right people to be able to make a rocket that could put a shoebox into space. Just gonna put that idea back here. Just go to Russia and buy an old ICBM. Yeah, I've seen that story before. They're gonna spit on your shoes. Seen that movie before. You can do anything you like if you find the right investors. Yeah.
Without space and without our own assets in space and being able to get them fast and not have to piggyback and be deprioritized
this is space. I'm in
relative to
space.
others, Canada can respond to the challenges of our own
Hey, Isabel, thank you. I just wanted to hear
satellites
that.
next year. They're designed specifically to monitor wildfires, which is, of course, very important given what Newfoundland went through just a couple months ago. Without space and without our own assets in space and being able to get them fast and not have to piggyback and be deprioritized relative to others, Canada can respond to the challenges of our own population. So it's really, really important for Canada to be investing in this. This is not just some final frontier. It's for everyday Canadians, for our economy, for our sovereignty, for everything.
The CEO, that guy, funded 5 million Canadian dollars of personal capital into Nord Space. 5 million? That's why their propulsion exists, because yeah, 5 million might be able to get you one engine. Stuff, dude, this stuff gets expensive so quick. It's the development time, it's getting the right people, it's testing. It takes, there's so much involved in this process. A Canadian consortium led by Nord Space awarded 3.2 million from NGen for AI-powered SAT propulsion manufacturing. They want to get into, they want to branch into VLEO too. Okay. Yeah. All right.
And what do you think the impact could be on Newfoundland and Labrador as you develop this spaceport?
Well, simply put, Newfoundland and Labrador would become the gateway to space for Canada. It would be the first time in Canadian history from Canadian soil that we'd be accessing orbit. And not only is that just such an amazing extension of the legacy of Newfoundland and Labrador, but also it's an opportunity for us in this province to become a catalyst and to become a hub for the space sector at large. Wherever these ports are built, whether they're airports or seaports or anything else, that's where other industry around it coalesces. And this is an opportunity not just to build the technology, but to build real infrastructure. And I think investing in developing infrastructure is a mark of a province, of a country that's thinking ahead and that's really looking to grow.
Obviously, there's federal money available.
Yeah, Isabel, that's what I'm saying. They're talking about too many ideas at once. They're going to end up basically bankrupting themselves. These goals are way too ambitious for the amount of money. They're ambitious, dude. They're ambitious. These goals are ambitious if you have a freaking blank check. I'm not even kidding. Like, that's not an exaggeration. It's not. Yeah, these goals are ambitious even if you were like had an infinite money glitch. Like, maybe not an infinite money glitch, but like close. Would they only be able to do polar orbits from there? Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was in Nova Scotia. It's in Newfoundland, which is even more north, but
To this new sovereign launch fund, are you looking for funding from the province as well?
We are looking for some form of collaboration, nothing nearing the federal investments, but naturally this is a very competitive opportunity, and we've been, in the past talking to a lot of provinces as well. At this point, our hearts are settled on Newfoundland, and we are working with the government to see where such an opportunity may exist. But more importantly, we're really looking for general cooperation and collaboration on all things from the regulatory side to environment to working directly with the town of St. Lawrence.
Are there any particular roadblocks that you're facing as you try and develop this sector?
money.
Well, I mean, There are all kinds of challenges, of course, but really the hardest part is the rocket science. As you saw, it's not easy. But we have a very skilled team with experience ranging from the top aerospace companies in the world, all Canadians looking forward to being back home and building this capability here. So yes, there are roadblocks, but nothing that we're afraid of. It'll take time, it'll take energy, a little bit of patience, and a tremendous amount of support from the province and from Canada. But we're going to get this done.
What's your relationship been like with the people of St. Lawrence on the Burin Peninsula?
Well, after the initial shock of, fishing town, us landing up there and saying we're going to build a spaceport, I'm sure a lot of people thought we were absolutely crazy. But over time, and actually quite quickly, they really warmed up and they opened their doors to us. We're there long nights. We have random people from the town showing up with sandwiches and coffees, taking care of us, really, making us feel part of their community. We do not take that for granted. We're extremely grateful. That community is truly one of the most important and significant reasons that we are in Newfoundland and that we believe we're going to be successful.
Well, Rahul Goyal, thank you very much for joining me today.
Absolutely. It was
Interesting.
It was just a few months ago.
Be quiet. Okay. Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how that transpires. I'll give you updates the second I hear them. So, next bit of news here. Check this out. ESAR Aerospace raised 270 million euros in Series D funding. This strategic backing powers our global expansion, accelerates serial production of our Spectrum launch vehicle, and drives new global launch sites. Backed by leading European and international investors, we deliver scalable orbital launch systems to secure sovereign space access for Europe, NATO, and allied nations. Huh. All right, man. All right. Am I, just dumb? It might... the answer is yes. I get it. But also, how these companies getting $270 million in Series D funding, and then Nordspace had $180 million from the Canadian government. How are you getting millions of dollars for, invested into your company when you haven't launched anything? How is that possible? How does that even happen? And I am straight up 100% not being trying to be a dick here. I want to know how'd you do that so I can do it and make my own. Shaking hands with the right people. Yeah, I guess I don't have the right people. They're supposed to launch on Monday. A business plan. I shake hands with danger. Shake hands with danger. What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Hey, Newtopia, what's going on? Great stream as always. Hello, how are you? That's good. I'm happy for ESAR. That's amazing. You really need to launch. But are they on the books? Hang on. Let's see. There's an H3 test flight tomorrow at 9. Oh, hell yeah. I'll tell you what we're going to be watching. First, you need a good CG artist. That's pretty funny, Exapod. I like that. It's probably a market due to people being worried about unstable leadership. It comes out of U.S. launches. Russia's not an option, except, yeah. Remember what you said about not purposely getting rage baited? I'm getting that just sitting here listening to this. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Monday at 4. Spectrum onward and upward. All right. Is NSF doing that? I don't know, Foz. That's my assumption. Two things. How much of this company do they get to keep after they are successful? Two, if they fail, how many family members get sent to Siberia to mine salt? Jeez. I don't know. I think Europeans are desperate for more sovereign capabilities. Can I play devil's advocate here, RE, a European launch sector? I want to precurse this with saying, look, do I want more rockets? Yes. Do I want Europeans building more rockets? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Why would, yeah, of course. More rockets are better. That we need to foster an economy up in space, and part of that is building launch vehicles to send more things into space. I don't have a problem with that. But sovereign launch capability, it's not like Arianespace doesn't exist. The way you do this is networking and knowing the right people, plus some way to reasonably prove that it may be possible, and you might get an investor which is interested in business without necessarily needing an instant return. Yeah. I don't know what we'd do at this point if we did a space startup. I bet if you said you're wanting to start something, there's enough people watching that you'd have the connections to. Aqualix, I want to be 100% truthful. I'm not sure I have the balls to throw my head into the ring. I'm not even kidding. Like, if anything, my knowledge of spaceflight, like, it's kind of like, dude, you got to be very sure if you're going to shoot your shot, right? Devil's advocate, who needs the EU for such lofty goals? Well, yeah, RE, like, European Union, like, what do you mean? Like, oh, they're desperate for sovereign launch capability. You have sovereign launch capability. You've had sovereign launch capability since the 70s. I don't understand. Like, what is the use case here? Is everybody just going to build a proliferated low Earth orbit network? Everyone's just going to try to make a Starlink competitor? That's not a business strategy. Would you post Mr. Yak? Yes, I would, actually. After the SpaceX IPO, you may have enough friends who have seed money to help. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Drama for your mama, what's up? Arianespace is also a monopoly and it's not a national space agency. Yeah, that's a good point, Yuri. But yeah, like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate. I want ESAR to succeed. I want Rocket Factory Augsburg to succeed. I want PLD Space to succeed. I want them all to succeed. PLD's cooking with Mira 5. It's pretty cool. Probably wise. You have like $10 for me though. Oh, dude. Well, yeah. Well, with that $10 bunks, I'm going to develop a heavy lift launch vehicle, and then we're going to pivot to building bigger things and sat buses and all this other stuff because it's really for everybody. Did it work? Did it work? No. So yeah, well. Right. Checks in the mail. Yes. All right. See, I can do this. I can play this game. I want to see the car on its wheels before investing. Euro 6 or something, but in the EU, ever since the Greenland thing and NATO unsureness, sovereignty has become a new big trend. I am German. Well, that's good to know. I'm not touching that one. I'm just gonna keep the news rolling. Biggest problem is rocket science, of course. You got the charisma. Yeah, Cryolux, that's the other thing. I would never in 1,000 years do that CEO speak stuff. If I was the CEO of a company, I would be talking to you. If I was the CEO of a rocket company, I'd be talking to you right now this way all the time. No bullcrap. You can't do that with spaceflight. Everything is superfluous. Like that's not like to the pertaining to the mission. Like all this investor speak, I would never do that. Sorry, I would. And that's probably why I don't have 270 million euro Series D funding. Send your car into space. Hell no, I ain't sending my car to space. I worked a lot on that thing. I don't want that up there. Don't you have to play that game to play that rocketry biz? No. Elon is objectively awful at talking to people. It works just fine for him. What's your favorite pudding flavor? Well, I love the chocolate covered pudding. At one time I spilled it on my pants, and then I had chocolate pudding pants. The cornet, yeah. Latest news on PLD is that they plan to launch a test flight this year, unlikely IMO, and another one next year, and then fly their first payload on their first flight. Bold. They are also planning a launch site in Oman, which is currently a desert, so yeah. Ugh. There's a lot of rocket launch sites in and around that area, Lava, recently, isn't there? Some of them float. Hey, it's just an idle comment. Shut up. What was wrong about it? Yeah, that's what I thought. Yes, Bonks, that's correct. At what point are we going to get a really JSA launch provider? You're in your prime to do it. Guys, I'm just not sure I'm smart enough to do it, to be honest with you. Like, that's what I mean about not having the stones. Really depends. I don't know. I'll noodle on it. That's a lot of work, dude. It's a lot of work. Hey, it's not going to be rusty when I'm done with it, goalie. Anyway. All right. So, couple more things here. Real quick, this is coming from Max over at NSF. There are Starship transport devices at the Cape. Booster transport stool. Ship transport stool. We could just build neat cars. A little early, no? They moved them to 39A. Love to see it. Hell no, it's not early at all. No, I think, Graham, I think that Starship from the Cape is a lot sooner than everybody really kind of realizes. Like, I could even tell you, like, okay, say in a hypothetical here, right? In a hypothetical, we say they want to launch Starship from the Cape in August, right? That's not going to happen, right? But say in this hypothetical they did. You know, I don't think people really realize how close it is. August is not that far away. That's 9 weeks. Till the end of August, actually. I mean, but you get what I'm trying to say. Let's just round down and say 8 weeks from now. Like, Starship activity is going to ramp up on the Cape, and it's going to ramp up real hard. Probably quarter 3, quarter 4, if I had to guess. That is not based off of any insider information. That's, dude, there. So, Graham, think about it like this. SpaceX wouldn't move the stools there if they weren't planning on moving ships there relatively soon. I'd say like in the next month or two. Just a guess. That was a guess, but it seemed logical. You don't understand that reference. Never mind. My hypothetical is that they're going to need those extras right now to shuttle different things around logistically. It makes sense to use it, then transport it when the first ship and booster go bring it on the boat with them. You can't fit it on their barge like that, because remember, starships are going to be transported horizontally. Calling it now, static fire in 9 weeks, launch in 16 weeks. Yeah, goalie, like hypothetically, right? Like that's... A launch on the Cape is not that far away, guys. It'll happen before you know it. Mark my words. All of a sudden, we'll be like, wait a minute, that's not Texas. Wait, you're launching this? Really? Yes. Watch. Don't they have to go to the port vertically, though? Nope. SpaceX is working on building a breakover device to transport Starship in Super Heavy horizontally. That'd be cool, Fluffy, yeah. Starship or New Glenn next from the Cape? Starship. Scott's. Yeah. Absolutely Starship. At least to start fit testing? Yeah, one man, yep. Do you think they will ship Booster 21 and 41 to the Cape? Yes. Are you going to cover the Florida Starship for NSF? I don't know. Maybe. I would love to. Dude, I would love to do that. I would love to do that. So late 2026, they're hoping to ramp up production to meet their goals for V3. They're ramping up right now, Bonks. Like, they've been ramping up pretty much. I would say SpaceX really started to get into some pretty hardcore ramp up. I'd say probably like 2 to 3 months ago. Once they really validated out all the version 3 systems. So basically when they started the launch campaign for Flight 12, yeah, dude, weird. Flight 13 is going to happen. It's going to sneak up on you real quick. Watch. Dude, we're not talking 2 months away. I'd say like next month, maybe the first week of July. Wait, it's June. Next month is July. Yeah, first week of July. That's 3 to 4 weeks away. It's gonna happen quick, dude. What held them back? Regulations? No. Booster 18 exploding and Ship 36 exploding had a lot to do with that. The ramp up was supposed to happen Q4 2025, but Booster 18 popped and they needed to figure out why, and that delayed them a little bit. So back to the big question. HLS, where is it? What mega bay and what structure number is she? Because they said it's finished. They just need to do the inside. I don't know the answer to that question, goalie. It's got to be in Star Factory somewhere. But even if they moved like a regular looking Starship into Mega Bay 2, we wouldn't know if it's HLS or not. Like, actually, yeah, I mean, really depends on how good at tank watchers we are, I suppose. Were you disappointed by the lack of HLS details from SpaceX this week? No. Wasn't anything I didn't know, Foz. Any idea why Artemis 3 Orion will be docked to Blue Moon for 2 days and Starship HLS for 1 day? That's probably just what the commercial providers wanted to do, Lunfrod. Raptor still got a little bit of ramping to do if they produce half a dozen a week, about 4 per week full stacks, assuming you account for Raptor 3 back. A dozen a week, make a nice target. I think by the end of this year. So, they can ramp simultaneously. Prediction is mid to late July. I'm saying they're not going to launch the first week of July because it's the 4th of July on America's 250th anniversary. It'll probably be the second week of July. If not second week, maybe third week. I'm hoping for a July 16th launch because that's the day. July 16th is the day Apollo 11 launched. Liftoff. We got a liftoff. 33 past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. That newscast, even though I wasn't here for it when it was live, is burned into my head. You taking a week off in July? Yeah, Fluffy. I always take the first week of July off, and I know there's been a lot of time away from the stream, but that week I'm just like, no, and I'm going to go completely off the radar for probably about a week. Yeah. Happy birthday, right? Yes, Bonks. Yeah. How hard would it be to use trains like a rocket pad? I've answered this question from you already, Ram-a-lot, like 3 days ago. Rockets blowing up is part of the schedule, yep. Don't you dare guilt trip yourself. No, God, I'm not. I need it. I need a break. It's been a rough couple of months, dude. It's been a rough couple of months. So the tanker test is launched from both Florida and Texas. That would be my guess, Sawyer. Yeah. Flight 13 would be a hell of a birthday candle. That'd be pretty cool. They said there would be no life support on HLS, hence only 1 day docking. Interesting. Since August of last year, at least. Yeah, Fluffy, yeah, all told, over the last 12 months, I've had more bad months than good months. But the good months, like April, were really good. Artemis and DVF. But yeah, I need a break. I got to get back into a routine, dudes. I'm like all over the place with streaming punctuality at this point, and I don't like it. I don't like not being here. I like doing space news every day. It's kind of nice. I have a lot of, I get a lot of time during the day to get all the stuff that I haven't done because my life fell apart in May fixed, which is great. Yeah. But, yeah. We are, in fact, not Wumbo maxing. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. The latter half of this year, we'll try to Wumbo max as hard as we can. Blue Origin has not flown any crew capsules with life support, so they need to show that they can support a crew in orbit. So they need the crew to enter the crew compartment and live, hence the 2 days with Blue Origin in orbit. SpaceX has done this already with Dragon. Yeah, that's a good point, dude. Yeah, guys, if Starship HLS does, whatever they use for Artemis 3, if it doesn't have life support systems, I'm not too incredibly worried about that. SpaceX has like thousands of hours on orbit life support systems experience at this point. That's not going to be something that's going to be a limiting factor for HLS. It really isn't. My big thing with SpaceX and with HLS, okay, docking ports, not worried about. Dragon, not worried about that. Life support, not worried about that. Dragon, absolutely. On orbit prop transfer, that okay, you got to prove that works. Creating a pressure vessel, like and a habitable interior, I ain't worried about that. Spacesuits, I ain't worried about that. Airlock, yeah, SpaceX doesn't really have a lot of experience there. But then again, if you could do what they did during Polaris Dawn, where Jared Isaacman got out of the Dragon capsule at least a little bit, I'm pretty sure that if SpaceX really wanted to engineer an airlock, and they do need to for HLS, that they could crank that out reasonably fast. My big thing with HLS is not any of the aforementioned stuff, maybe with the exception of prop transfer. What I'm really worried about is the propulsion, your landing engines. We've seen nothing of that, like nothing. And that's not something that you really have prior experience in unless somebody decided to just shoehorn a bunch of Super Dracos onto a Starship HLS, which I don't think that they did. There's some type of Methalox gas thruster or something. Yeah, that would be the uncharted territory for me. Super duper Dracos. Yep. Ours had an interview about some of this. No, that was completely jerry-rigged for Polaris. No, that was completely jerry-rigged Hilarious. Yeah. Well, Hellfish, like, once again, you have that. It's not necessarily that is an analog for explaining how an airlock works. I know that Dragon was an open loop system in this regard. If you can command a vessel to do that, to depress and repress, even though you're using an open loop life support system to do the depress and the repress, I'm fairly confident it's not that much bigger of a step for an airlock. In fact, it's not. It's, yeah, just make the system closed loop and you're okay. They've been testing in that tent structure. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, those are the stuff that they don't really necessarily have prior experience. I know they're testing it, Fluffy. What I'm trying to tell you is that, look, yeah, you could test it, but there's a fine line between, you know, testing it in a tent out in a field in McGregor and testing like a life support system. The life support systems that SpaceX engineers have thousands of hours on orbit. You see how that's not, like, in my mind, that's not exactly the same thing. You know what I mean? But anyway. All right. We're getting up on 8 o'clock here. We've done about almost 4 hours of space news. Fellas, there is one last bit of news that I want to share. Check this out. So tomorrow at 11 a.m. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. is Starlink Group 17-44. It's not necessarily a red letter day or any particular launch, like particularly insightful launch. I mean, 1071 is going to do its 34th flight, which is great. And then 1067 did its 35th flight the other day on Monday, which is pretty crazy. 650th Falcon 9, the 66+1 mission of 2026. Yeah, these are like 650 Falcon 9 missions is great. This isn't necessarily like any pretty red letter numbers, but I just wanted to point out that this is the last launch that SpaceX is going to do as a private company. I wish you the best regardless, man. I don't know much about regarding the extent of your troubles, but you're tough as nails, and that's hella cool to see. Thanks, Bonks. Yeah, you don't want to know, dude. It's bad. Yep. Did you see what Jerry Rig Everything commented on the new AI satellites for SpaceX? So that's the guy that hates Elon for whatever reason. Good STEM YouTuber when he's not talking about Elon, because Elon lives in that guy's head rent-free for some reason, and I'm not 100% sure why. Well, scratch that. I could probably guess. With that all being said, yeah, he seems to be... A lot of folks seem to be on about that whole heat rejection thing with satellites. Refresh my memory, Alien. I do believe he said something along the lines of them not being able to do heat rejection in space because it's in a vacuum. Look, man, to which I'll say, SpaceX's AI-1 SatBus design, the data center AI satellites that they're working on right now, have an upper power capacity generation capability of 150 kilowatts. With that much power, you can handle heat rejection just fine. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. It's really not a problem. The problem with heat rejection in the vacuum is that you have to do it through black body radiation. You basically have to have your radiator shed infrared light, right? The problem in the past isn't just make a bigger radiator. The problem, you can make a bigger radiator, that's fine. But when you make a bigger one, you're not going to be able to power your cooling loops, because black body radiation is not really radiation in general is not really the best way to get for heat rejection, guys. Convection and conduction's the best one, with convection right behind it. But you can't do those in space. Radiation is not the best way to do it, but it is the only way to do it in space. So the way I see heat rejection on satellites, like putting data centers in space, guys, the way I see that is that it's a bottleneck. It's a bottleneck, but it's linearly scalable. I.e., if you generate more power, you can make a bigger radiator, you can have a bigger cooling loop. And once again, the AI-1 sat bus is designed to generate 150 kilowatts in space, 130 constant power, 130 kilowatt constant power. That's ridiculous. That's enough to power a city block, guys. Heat rejection's not a problem. It really isn't. And it's especially not a problem when you're running a data center that has no utility bill. Once you think about it like that, that bottlenecked heat rejection problem makes a lot more sense. And I'm not even that big of an AI guy, guys. I think data centers in space is a distraction. If you really want my honest to God opinion, but hey, don't bet against Elon or SpaceX. That historically has proven to be really stupid. So, I don't know. He compared it to a thermos for drinks. Yeah, it's kind of shocking. And keep in mind, fellas, I am not the only one that is susceptible to this. I'm not perfect. I get stuff wrong. When you're saying it live in front of a bunch of people and you're worrying, about reading what everybody has to say in chat, and then you're also worried about the production, and then you're also worried that you're on a live broadcast, you can't say anything stupid, etc., you usually end up saying stupid things. I've said some pretty dumb things that are fundamentally misunderstanding even basic science concepts at times. With that being said, thermodynamics is not something I get wrong, ever. Because I know physics, or at least have a superfluous understanding of physics and know how it works. It's the nuclear physics that always gets me, dude. That one just gets confusing. Neutron flux is ridiculous, okay? Dude, nuclear physics is over there, right? Laws of thermodynamics, though, pretty straightforward stuff. There seems to be an alarming amount of people out there that don't really understand this. Like the first, second, and probably third laws of thermodynamics. Yeah, it is what it is. The ISS has gigantic radiator panels on it, and the ISS could reject more heat if they needed to, but the ISS powers, so for reference here, somebody told me this a little bit earlier on the stream, the ISS is 8 kilowatts. These Starlink satellites, these Starlink AI-1 data the SpaceX AI-1 sat bus can produce 130. Heat rejection's not a problem, dudes. It really is not a problem. I'm once again, I'm no tech bro. I'm not an AI finance bro that just thinks AI is going to replace everything. Even though it might, I don't know. That I can speak to with pretty damn high confidence. It's not an issue. It's especially not an issue if your utility bill is free. I'm going to have to get that power bill for the really, really low price of on the house. Yeah, sure. Yeah, there you go, Graham. Can we borrow one and wire it to the ISS? I mean, how about we build a new space station with the AI-1 sat bus attached to the back as a service module? Maybe take the AI-1 sat bus and tape it to the back of Vast's Haven 1. I don't know. I'm just a Kerbal player, bro. Hey, Rosebud, what's up? I don't know, dude. And that Starlinks do use a lot of energy heat on transmissions and data. Yeah, no, once again, heat rejection in space it's something you got to take into account. Absolutely. And it is kind of a pain in the butt, but it is not a pain in the butt if you mass produce solar panels and satellites, and every single one of those 10,000 satellites has a radiator on it. That gives you a pretty damn good fundamental understanding of heat rejection and how it works in space. Dare I say SpaceX probably knows more about it than NASA at this point. NASA has been doing heat rejection in space way longer than SpaceX, but NASA don't have no 10,000 satellite constellation now, does it? You would be like, look, people have problems with Elon, that's fine. People have problems with SpaceX, sure. There's not like, if there is plenty to criticize, absolutely. That's not one of them. That's not one of them at all. Like, that's, you're dying on a very weird hill. Like, you're not dying on a hill at all. You're dying in a swamp. It's like, I will die on this hill. No, you die in the swamp because you don't understand what a hill is. Hey, Rosebud, thank you for the $5 super chat. I appreciate it. Get out of my swamp! Elon, probably. I said you couldn't build a castle in a swamp, but I built it anyway. Built it in the swamp. I remember when Starlink was impossible. Yeah, Kuja, man, you remember back in the day where everybody's like, oh, you can't land. Reusability makes no sense. Reusability doesn't make any sense. The shuttle program proved that reusability doesn't make any sense. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, the company is worth billions of freaking dollars. They're about to IPO and potentially get a $75 billion investment fund. Like, not investment fund, a $75 billion potential investment. Like, come on. Starlink and Leo is a stupid, was a bad take. That's what I'm saying, Bash. Like, don't bet against SpaceX, dude. They'll do it, man, and they have the money to do it. SpaceX's budget at this point, dude, the Starbase, for instance, is operating to the tune of, I think it's like $3 billion. It received $3 billion in 2025. That, dude, guys, that's NASA. That's NASA money. It's NASA money. Like, there's no other way to say that. You know, I said this on Flame Trench last Friday. Everybody's saying, like, for the longest time, people have criticized SLS for being, you know, way too expensive, et cetera, which I still think is funny because people just pretend not to understand what total cost involved is, but that's another story. You know, everybody said, like, I've been talking to people in the spaceflight community, and they've been saying, like, can you imagine if SpaceX had that money? Can you imagine if SpaceX had that money? Can you imagine what they'd be able to do? Well, yes, I can. I don't need to imagine it. It's sitting in southern Texas right now. That whole Starbase thing, right? Like, you don't need to imagine anymore. We're already there. They don't need the NASA funding. And on that bombshell, it's time to end. And on that terrible disappointment, it's time to end. Thank you very much, everybody. Good night. No, that's gonna do it for me. But yeah, Box, that's another car mechanical analogy. Could such a loss be equated to parasitic loss on a supercharger or an AC? It's more like a car needs a radiator, Bonks, and it's a pain in the butt, but yeah, you need a radiator because combustion generates heat energy. One more thing, KSA now has part collision, and its work on the vehicle editor starts next week. There's no physics range, by the way. Lovely. Yeah, Hoffman. Yeah, like I said, if you're gonna criticize Elon, you know, you could criticize Elon. That's fine. You could say you just don't like him. That's fine. You don't need reasons. Just say you don't like this person. It's fine. Like, But I love it when people try to cope by coming up with an objective and unbiased analysis of physics. This is why I know more than, like, dude, shut up. Just, yes. Let's stick it to this guy and just conveniently forget about like 2, maybe 3 laws of thermodynamics while I'm doing it. Like, all right, dude. Thought you're supposed to be a STEM educator. Yeah, I can't see me. There you go. All right. Are you going to cover H3 tomorrow? The H3 test? When is it? H3 is at 8:53. I want to see if I can get up here for Starlink 17-44 because I want to see the last SpaceX mission as a private company. Yeah, I want to see that. That H3 launch is going until 9. I might need to take a break in the middle of the day, Mutter, tomorrow, depending. But yeah, we'll see. Last launch before Stock Bros ruin it. I've already started to see it happen, spoiled on social media. People making these long, like, posts on X about, like, rocket engines and propulsion and stuff, and man, do they not know what the hell they're talking about. It's bad, dude. It's bad. Like, it's not great. Alien Logic, thanks for replying. Dude, you can always talk to me. That's one thing I'll say before I head out. You can always talk to me. I make it a thing to read chat. We're having a conversation. That's how you teach people. All right? You can always talk to me. Just tag me. I'll try my best. I can't get to everybody, but you can be damn sure. You can have my assurance that I'm going to try. You know? Oh, yeah. You're right. Anyway. I'm going to go have dinner with my wife. I will talk to you guys all tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching Space News with me. Or doing Space News. You know what I mean. This was the Space and Rocket Review. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 11. We'll get up here at 11 for Starlink. And then I might need to take a break in the middle of the day. We'll see. So, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night. Sorry, I've been watching Clarkson's Farm. Anyway, I'll see you guys all later. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.